theyeshiva.net.
We start a new Mishnah today, the second Mishnah of Rosh Hashanah. Daf Tez Zayin Amud Aleph on the top. You got it? Tez Zayin Amud Aleph on the top. The Meiri was one of the Rishonim who, in his commentary on Gemara, he always looks to explain the structure, how things are organized, how ideas are structured and organized in every Masechta. So the Meiri says over here that the first Mishnah explains that there are four Rosh Hashanahs. The first of Nisan, the first of Elul, the first of Tishrei, and then the first of Shvat or the 15th of Shvat. And the Mishnah said that the first of Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah for a few different things. For Shemitah, for Yovel, for Shanim, for years, for saplings, for Yerakas, for vegetables. Malachim. That's Nisan. Oh, Shanim is explained, the Malachim according to one opinion. Yeah. So it's a Rosh Hashanah for a few different things. Now this Mishnah is going to explain and go back to the Echad B'Tishrei Rosh Hashanah. It's, in other words, it's plucking out one of the four Rosh Hashanahs, the first of Tishrei, which is really what we call Rosh Hashanah, and is going to discuss that this Rosh Hashanah of the first day of Tishrei is the time of judgment, the time of reckoning for all human beings, and thus the Mishnah is also going to discuss the different times of judgment and reckoning for all aspects of the world during the year. Barba Prakim, 4 times of the year, 4 chapters. 4 seasons of the year, ha'olam nidain. Does the world get judged? B'Pesach alatfuah. In Pesach, the world gets judged for the grain, the quality, the fabric, the nature of the grain. Ba'atzeres, which is Shavuos, the world gets judged al peiros ha'ilam, not for grain, but for the fruits of the tree. Rosh Hashanah, on Rosh Hashanah, and of course, they're referring to our vocabulary. The first day of Tishrei is Kol Boy Yoilam Oivrim Lefanav Kibnei Moran. All those who enter the world, meaning all human beings who walk the world, who walk the face of the planet, pass before him Kibnei Moran. Kibnei Moran is a very interesting expression, and the Gemara is going to explain what that means. What does it mean we pass before him Kibnei Moran? Rashi says, Barba Prakim B'Shana Oilam Nidoin Kibnei Marin Mefarish B'Gemara. The Gemara is going to explain these words. Daf Yud Ches. Shenema, the pasuk says in Tehillim, Hayoitzer Yachad Libam Hamevin Al Kol Ma'aseyim, which means Hayoitzer Yachad Libam, the one who creates their hearts, the hearts of all people, the one who creates the hearts of all humanity. In other words, Hashem. Hamevin Al Kol Ma'aseyim. He understands. Maven. He understands all of their deeds, all of their activities. And this is the concept of judgment on Rosh Hashanah, that since he created their heart, he's Maven Al Kol Ma'aseyim. He understands everything they're doing.
Yachad goes on Hayotzer, or Yachad goes on Libam?
I think Libam, on Libam. I think Libam. And of course, why is this pasuk brought? Why is this pasuk brought here? Rashi says, "Shenemer hayotze yachad libam again." B'Gemara mefarish la. The Ritva says, the Rishonim say that from the word hayotze yachad libam, it sounds like the maven is connected to the first half, to the yotze. When did Hashem create the heart of man? He created the heart of man on Rosh Hashanah. Adam and Chava were created on Rosh Hashanah. So that's the time when he's maven al kol ma'aseyah. He understands, he looks deeply into all of their deeds, which, by the way, also gives a certain perspective on what it means that he judges. Often when we hear the word judges, right, you say somebody judges you. Who wants to be judged? We don't like being judged. Yeah. But what about if the one who judges you created your heart and he's maven al kol ma'aseyim? In other words, he knows everything about you, including all the pain, all the struggles, all the challenges, everything you go through. Everything that's inside, as much as you know, and even more, because he's Yotze Yachid Ma'mivin Al Kol Ma'aseyah. We love to be judged by such people. If somebody could really understand everything going on, your entire past, your entire present, all of your experiences. We don't like to be judged because most judgment is superficial. I look at you, you don't fit into my box, I judge you. What if someone understands the oimek halev, all of your pain and everything you go through and all of your hamavin al kol maaseya. I don't look at your ma'aseh. He's mavin al kol maaseya. Mavin al kol maaseya means you understand the oimek of all the ma'aseh. So then it's a whole different type of perspective.
That's in the Rambam. You want me to do so? No, it's
Yeah.
the same person.
Yeah. Ubechag on Yom Tov we say in davening ki hu yada yitzreinu. He knows our yetzer. He knows yada yitzreinu. He knows your yetzer. It's not like it's coming from a place of ignorance, of superficiality. Ki yada yitzreinu. So that's Rosh Hashanah. And finally, Bechag, which means Sukkos on Yom Tov, Sukkos is always called just Chag, Nidoinin al Hamayim. The world gets judged on the water, on the nature of the water of the coming year. So we have the 4 seasons, Pesach for the grain, Shavuos for the fruits, Rosh Hashanah all of humanity, and Sukkos al Hamayim all of the water. Zog the Gemara.
So, what happens?
Right. What's the gate to the? You're saying the water itself, because what happens to the person?
So, unless it's talking about the clown, not the yochid. What?
The general judgment for the world, and then specific.
Huh?
Inflation is a general
Compared to
judgment.
the water's going to fall, it's going to rain, but it's going to be on the crops, not on the crops.
Right. So the Ran, that's what the Ran says. The Ran asks this question. The Ran here, Rabbi Nissim says, if Rosh Hashanah the person is being judged, so what do you have other judgments for? Part of what does it mean a human being being judged is everything, including what his fields are going to look like, what his crop is going to look like, what his trees are going to look like, what his water is going to look like. So already you have all the other judgments.
The water is also tied into the other two.
Of course, right. The tefua needs water and the pedicilla needs water.
That's what I'm saying. So he's going to be the one that.
So what does the Ran say?
So the Ran says that the other times is for the klal, in other words, how much water there's going to be, how much grain there's going to be, how many pedicilla there's going to be. Rosh Hashanah is individually for every human being, not just on the collective
So that
entity.
happens. So when does the judgment happen on Tefua and on the Paris and on the Maya? Before Rosh Hashanah?
Oh, that's going to be the discussion now. Which Pesach is it? That's going to be the discussion now.
Is it possible?
It has to be the preceding one, no?
That's what the Gemara is going to discuss right now.
Is it possible on a different level that the Tavua gets judged, that after it's sold, after the person they made his money, who's going to eat it? A tzaddik or not a tzaddik? Is it going to
Yeah.
have it or not?
Perhaps. That's on the Tefua itself. Zog the Gemara. Hey Tefua. You say the first thing is Pesach. Pesach, the world is judged on the grain. Hey Tefua. Which grain? What's the question? Which grain? The grain. No, the Gemara says there's a problem here. Because let's remember, all grain is planted usually in the winter months before Pesach, and it gets ripe and harvested in the spring, right? Aviv, the season of Pesach and after Pesach. But you have different types of grains. You have, for example, you have chita sa'ir is wheat and barley, then you have kusmin is spelt, and you have shiboilas shul is oats, and shifin is rye. Wheat, rye, and spelt are grain that grow very slowly. So they're usually planted in Eretz Yisrael in Cheshvan, right in the beginning of the winter, because they grow very slowly. Barley grows much faster, so it's planted in the month of Shvat or in the month of Adar, because it much grows fast. So the problem here is, when the grain is being judged on Pesach, the grain already grew. Pesach already, the grain grew, whatever type of grain, whether it's grain that grows slowly or grain that grows fast. It's already standing in its stalks, Pesach time. Chodesh Aviv. Aviv means the time when it's ready, it's ripe, and you have to harvest it. So now we're learning that on Pesach the Tefua is being judged. So the Gemara says, hey Tefua, which grain is being judged? Ilema ha-Tefua de kaima. If you're talking about the Tefua that exists, in other words, the grain that was planted in the fields before Pesach in the winter, and now finally it's still connected to the earth, and it's waiting to be harvested. So right now, there's a judgment on this grain. Frag the Gemara, a very interesting expression here. Kol hani harfteki da'adu Allah emas itidun. All the harftekais, all the, what does he touch harftekai? All the experiences, all the challenges that the grain went through. When was it judged? The grain goes through a lot from when it was planted until it grew. Yesh judging it on Pesach. For us, in terms of eating the tefua, the action starts after Pesach. But the tefua went through a whole experience. He says, Kol Hanei Harfteki. How does he touch Harfteki?
Currency.
Okay, all of the occurrences that went through on what that this grain endured, Emas Itidun. When was it judged? Ella, you have to say, Tefua de Mizdara. We're talking about the grain that's going to be planted the next winter. In other words, Pesach, the judgment on the grain, is not the grain that's now in the field. That grain was judged a long time ago. That grain was judged a year ago. We're talking about the grain that's going to be planted after 6 months, 7, 8, 9, 10 months. Next winter, Pesach is judged. That's pshat. So therefore, the entire entity of the grain is judged. In other words, judgment is not just the final reckoning of what's going to happen with this tefua. It's the whole experience of what each stalk of grain and spelt and oat and rye goes through in the earth. Its whole process, even that which is not visible to us, completely not visible to us, that's also part of it. Just like with a person, it's Maven al Kol Maaseh.
Why you done on Pesach? Why don't it?
Good question. What's up is Pesach with the grain, and what's the source for this mission? The Gemara is going to discuss that. What's the source and why? The Gemara says, 1 second. You're assuming the Chad Dinim Misdana, that all the grain is judged once on Pesach before it's planted. Everything that's going to happen to it is judged, including its harvesting, even if the harvesting is after the next Pesach. In other words, it's judged on Pesach for the whole year, including what happens after Pesach, because it's harvested after Pesach. Tanya, we learned a brais, an interesting brais. Tvura she'ira bakeri. Tvura she'ira bakeri. Don't confuse this with the word keri that's usually used. Grain that has a keri, which basically means an accident. For example, there is a major storm, a major tsunami, a borod, hail comes down, icicles come down. Oinus, that's a heavenly accident. Or oinus is b'dei adam. You have a war, and they come into troops come into fields, and they destroy all the crop, all the grain. Or adam she'ira b'keri, oinus, or a person who experiences an accident from heaven, or an oinus basically in the hands of another person. Koydem Yom Kippurim. If it's Koydem Yom Kippurim, if it's before Yom Kippur, then it's Nidon L'Sha'avar. Then it's from the judgment of the previous year, from the previous Yom Kippur. After Yom Kippurim, if it was after Yom Kippur, Nidon L'Haba. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Koydem HaPesach, if it happened before Pesach, in other words, the grain was affected, was damaged, was destroyed, either by a heavenly occurrence or by a human occurrence, before Pesach Nidonis L'Sha'avar. It means that it was judged from the previous Pesach. In other words, before it was planted, from the previous Pesach it was judged. Acher Pesach, that which happens after Pesach, when it's already fully grown, Nidonis L'Haba. This means that this event was a result of the grain being judged for the future after it was planted. In other words, this year's Pesach. The same is thing Adam Shira by Keri Oinus, if it's Koydem Yom Kippurim Nidin L'Sha'avar. It's from the last Yom Kippur. Acher Yom Kippurim, it's a result of Nidin L'Haba, of Yom Kippur this year that just passed. Sagt Rashi, Ilei Mahatvu de Kai Mahashtem Mechubru Mechenes Liktzer Harftekoi Mikrois events. The Adu Allah Sha'avrula, the Mizdara Sha'asid L'Zraya B'Marcheshvan Haba. The Chad Dinah Pa'amachas Keri Kagoyin Borod Hail Oy Shidafon. Shidafon means a what?
Water.
A tsunami, a storm, a flood that destroys the tefua. Nidonis l'sha'avar, koydem shenizra, da'aynu pesach shalishtakat. If it happened, let's say, in the middle of Shvat, something happens to the field, it came from last Pesach. Nidonis lahaba. If it happened after Pesach, before harvesting, or after harvesting, nidonis b'pesach shachas v'yas. Okay, got it. Yeah, 1 second. Nidin l'shaw, when it comes to a person, ubiyayim ha'kaporim shalishtaka nigzir alav. It happened last Yom Kippur. Lahaba b'yem kippurim sha'avar achshav b'karev. Lahaba doesn't mean the next Yom Kippur. Lahaba means
After it happened.
this most recent Yom Kippur, the next Yom Kippur, yeah. V'chein lashon mishtam b'mesechta nedarim. Rashi says koinam, I make a neder. Koinam means I make a vow. Yayin she'eni toyim chodesh zeh aser b'chol chodesh kula. I'm not going to taste wine this month. I'm also the whole chodesh. V'resh chodesh lahaba hu resh chodesh sha'avar ata b'karev. When we say the next Rosh Chodesh, it's the Rosh Chodesh that just passed. In other words, let's say it's Beis. This is called Rosh Chodesh Lab. Or Mishum de Kari Lahu Ishtakat Sha'avar Kari Lahaida L'Kamei Lahaba. Rashi says Lahaba means the future, not the past. But he says since the past Yom Kippur, we're calling last year's Yom Kippur, so the new Yom Kippur we call the next year's Yom Kippur. It doesn't mean the next, it's already passed. Let's say something happens to somebody in Cheshvan. It means this most recent Yom Kippur, which is the next Yom Kippur after the one from the previous year.
Why is the price of Yom Kippur?
Instead of.
Rosh Hashanah is more accurate.
So the Gemara is going to discuss that Rosh Hashanah is the judgment and the chasima, the sealing is on Yom Kippur.
Tosfos, the top Tosfos.
Yeah, the Maisa with brachas, yeah.
Yeah. So it just makes sense. This is Rosh Hashanah Maskirim Dinan Nigzor Pesach.
Yeah.
The-
Yeah, okay, we'll soon learn, yeah. So what's the issue here? The issue here is the Gemara assumed that there's one din on the grain. So the Gemara had a question. If there's one din, if there's one judgment on the grain, yeah, and you judge it on Pesach, what happened to the 6 months of the grain before that? When does that get into the account?
From the year before.
So the Gemara answered, it's for the year before. Yeah. So in other words, the Gemara is assuming that there's one judgment for grain. So the year before Pesach, it's for all the future grain. So the Gemara, but from this brayso we see it's not like that. There's the judgment till Pesach, which comes from the previous Pesach, and then there's what happens after Pesach, which comes from this Pesach. So our assumption, which made us change our understanding, is based on an error, it seems. Again, our assumption is that every batch of grain, from beginning to end, gets judged once. Okay? So we had a problem. It can't be on Pesach. Why? Because Pesach, you already missed much of the grain. When was that grain considered? So we went to the previous Pesach. And we assumed the previous Pesach, the whole future of the grain is judged. Granted. Looks good. But the Braisa tells us something else. The Braisa says you actually have to split. What happened to the grain till Pesach was judged last Pesach. What happened to the grain after Pesach was judged this Pesach. The same grain, yeah.
Looks like the same person.
Like the same person. Like the same person.
The grain will last.
The grain is also a person. Huh?
How would you know that?
I don't know anything about this. You want to know how the Bryson knows? Okay, that's a good question. That's a fair question. The same question is on the Mishnah. How does the Mishnah know when the grain gets judged? The Gemara is going to ask that. It's a good question.
No, that it gets judged twice. That's what I mean.
Oh,
You can have a
okay.
I'm okay with you. If I-
No, so therefore the whole
Same
question of the
person also
Gemara,
gets judged twice. The person's getting, you go from
Okay,
the question of the Gemara therefore doesn't make sense. The Gemara said, when does the grain get judged? If it's Pesach, it already passed. No, this part got judged before last Pesach.
I think what he's asking, who
The
knows
guy's
which
in
part?
the business,
Can't be-
and he
can't
gets a
be
good
nuanced.
year, doesn't mean the next year is getting a good year.
Right, because a human being excels. The grain is meant to cut every year.
That's not like doing anything.
But the price is
It's
set
not
in the
that
middle of
so
growing.
It's great.
Huh?
The price, how do you think the price is talking about the same grain? I think this is what he's
Let's see. The Gemara's going to explain. Amar Rava, so Rava says, Shma Mina. From this brayso you see, Trei Dinim is Donna. That when the Mishnah says, Pesach, you get judged for the grain, every grain gets judged twice. Trei Dinim. It gets accounted for twice. What do we mean? Once before it's planted, on the previous Pesach, and once after it's planted, or after it's planted and it grows on Pesach and after Pesach, that gets judged Pesach of this year. That's the Gemara's question. Rashi says, Trei dinim is done, koidim zriyasa. One is before planting, in other words, last year's Pesach, which is going to be 6-7 months or more before planting, and then samach l'katzir.
I guess the question is.
And then after it grew, right before it gets harvested, which means the next Pesach,
Same
when
like
it's
a
already
person.
growing. Huh?
Same like a person. A person is not a new person every Rosh Hashanah.
Yes, he is, because it changes his menos, how he behaves. A grain doesn't change the milos. I'm a grain, that's it.
Every grain goes through many experiences. It grows up.
The
There's
grain
infancy.
judged because of the people.
There's infancy.
At least the nation,
There's childhood, right? There's teenage, and there's maturity.
But the grain doesn't have an option to change itself.
It doesn't have. First of all, how do you know what grain? You know,
I speak the grain.
grain.
They don't answer, but I speak the grain.
I'm saying plants have a ganze world in them. It's not today. We look at plants very superficially. There's a lot going on in plants. The secret world of plants, secret world of trees.
But they
It's
have a
not,
choice to change it.
let's say not a choice.
Okay.
I don't know about their choices. They don't have choices like we have choices, but there's a whole,
No, but it's
there's an inner system
it's
over there.
understandable why a human can be judged even twice a year, or every day.
Judge the tfuah doesn't mean we're judging them for Avedas they did. I told you, you have to understand judging different. When we speak about judging, it's like I judge you, it's very negative.
Chayev u'pazel.
Judgment here means I look into your essence and I examine what is the best thing
Right.
for you in order to fulfill your mission in this world. That has to do with everything in the world. Judge doesn't mean that the grain had get at Lashon Hara that year. Yeah?
But this also means that
Or took off the
the
Streimel.
food for the nation.
Oy,
Hey,
that's-
Everybody can
too
start.
early in the morning for that.
It says Hayom Harasulam, and it
No.
says even a fish in the middle of the ocean is twittering.
Yeah.
Why? Because his judgment is going
The
to
fishman had the
die.
grain.
they're more than us.
So, the,
No, he's asking what Hashem is judging. What did the grain do? What did the grain do? How could you judge? I'm saying judge doesn't mean punishment.
He's
no,
why
in
is
the
the
dress,
but
it
it's
will be
also
a judgment
copy
if it's
the
going to
oil.
succeed.
Right, of course.
Copy the oil, so it's the oil that doesn't
Right.
behave properly. The grain is judged disfavorably.
But the fish is not judged based on people, it seems. It's judged we're going to live or die. Why can't we
Better to
fly
put
them
through
to
the
the
game.
You're saying the fish itself. There's a judgment relative to the world, relative to what we're going to benefit and not, right? Which is really the Rosh Hashanah element. That's what the Ran says. How it relates to me. Yeah. What fish am I going to get? What fish am I not going to get? What trees am I going to get? What trees? What my crop is going to look like? What my field is going to look like, etc. And then there's Lagabi the world itself.
It's Monkey Shabbos. When did they decide what fish he gets?
The fish sit there. I wonder if in the warm waters it's sit there too, only in the cold.
They say a Maisa, I don't know. It's one of these legends that the Beis Halevi woke up his son Reb Chaim as a little child for slichus early in the Elul, and it was mamish before dawn, and it was very cold in Eastern Europe. And he says, "Come 5 minutes, we have gained in shul for slichus." So 5 minutes later he comes, and his boy is still sleeping. So he says, "I feel the fish in Vasa tzitterin. The fish in the water are trembling during the days of slichus." So he says, "Father, if the fish were covered over in a blanket in a comfortable bed like me, they also wouldn't tremble, yeah?" Okay. Zog the Gemara weiter, Amar Abaye. So Abaye says, Hilchach, therefore, Ki chazi inish de matzlich zara aflo, when a person sees the middle of the winter, that the zara, the success, that the tfuah, the grain that is being delayed and becoming ripe. In other words, the wheat and the spelt, which it takes longer for it to become ripe, which he already planted at the beginning of the winter because it grows slowly. So when he sees that this tvuah, zara afla means the grain that is late. Afla means mu'ucher, it's late. When he sees that the late grain, what do we mean by late grain? You have fast grain, early grain, and you have late grain. In other words, it takes them more to develop. When you see success, when you see hatzlacha, matzlach, in this grain, this means that the tfuah was judged well last Pesach. So likadim velizra charfa. So then don't wait. In middle of the winter in Chayrif, you should hasten with his vizus, you should plant the next grain. In other words, the grain that grows fast, which is barley. Usually you wait till the end of winter. You know why? The adam matil medaine. So that before the time of its judgment comes, which is Pesach, Kadam Solik, it already started to grow. It already started to grow. Chaparain in
Good judgment.
Chaparain, the good judgment. That's Abaye's advice. Zok Rashi.
It's not an individual.
Huh?
It's this man of
Ki chazi inish de matzlich zara afla. Chita v'koisemes in Israel b'mar cheshven. Wheat and kaisemes is usually translated as spelt, which is planted in the month of Cheshvan, she'ein memarin li'is bashal, because they don't get ripe so fast, so it takes them quite a few months throughout the winter. And you see hatzlocha in these grains. Likadim v'lizlira charfa zakrashi hasa'oyim ma'eres li'is bashal. Barley grows fast and it gets ripe fast. V'zoyrim ma'yisa b'shvat v'adar. Most people plant barley in Eretz Yisrael in Shvat and Adar, in other words, at the end of the winter. The kivan the afla matzlach, since the late grain was successful. Shma minos the charaya l'toiva nitim Pesach shavar. It was judged last Pesach beneficially. Lefichach thus, seize the moment. Carpe diem yemahir l'zroya b'zriya shniya, or as the Haggai Sabach says, b'reviya shniya. You should hasten and plant all the grain, including the barley, b'reviya shniya, meaning the next season. Don't delay it till the end. Why? The Adam Matil Medaini Pesach Haba Kadam Salik. It already came out. The Gadol Ktsas Ve'enim Amay Yeshuv L'Iskalkel.
It's not that each stalk has their own separate din. You see that
Right.
it's a farm, the
Right.
whole, the whole thing.
The person is telling that
No, because
person.
you're saying now that
One
this is had a
person
good crop, do everything.
Also,
And all the crops.
about
Right.
the fact that it's a hikra, that the hikra could happen.
Right.
It's a storm, it could be a borrowed. You don't have a raya on that. The only is a raya.
Right.
It's growing well. You
Yeah.
don't have a raya that the din is, it's gonna stay.
Is it
Look at
logical
Mitzrayim, what happened.
What's logical?
what it says here?
What Abaya's advice?
Can you apply it to anything else? Only grain?
But it's not
Past
like-
performance has no guarantee to results.
Of course we do.
The disclaimer.
Yeah.
My masnis. Frag the Gemara. Who is the Tana of our Mishnah? What's the problem? Lo Reb Meir, lo Reb Yehuda, lo Reb Yosi, lo Reb Nosson. We have elsewhere 4 views of 4 Tanaim, Reb Meir, Reb Yehuda, Reb Yosi, Reb Nosson, and it seems that all of them are inconsistent with our Mishnah. The Tanya, we have a Braisa, Hakal, Nedoina, Rosh Hashanah. Everything and everybody is judged on Rosh Hashanah. A person, grain, fruits, water. Ugzar din shalem nechta b'yom HaKippurim. And their decree is sealed on Yom Kippur. Divrei Reb Meir. This is the view of Reb Meir. Everything is judged on Rosh Hashanah and confirmed and sealed on Yom Kippur. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Hakol nedoyne b'Rosh Hashanah. Everything is judged on Rosh Hashanah. Ugzar din shalem nechtam kol echad v'echad b'zmanoi. But the verdict is sealed, each thing in its own time. Meaning Pesach halatfua. Pesach, the decree gets sealed and confirmed on grain. Ba'atzeres shvuos al peiros sealed on fruits of the tree. B'chag on sukkos nedoyne al amayim, they get judged on the water. For Adam, besides the human being, Nidim b'Rosh Hashanah, he's judged on Rosh Hashanah. Ugzar din shalei nechtem b'Yom HaKippurim, and his verdict is sealed on Yom Kippur. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda, unlike Reb Meir says everybody is Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, everybody and everything. Rabbi Yehuda says no, everything is on Rosh Hashanah, but the ultimate Gzar Din, everything has a different season. The person is Yom Kippur, the Tfu is Pesach, the Peiros are Shavuos, and the water is Sukkos. Rabbi Yossi Aimer,
How is he connected the Mishnah?
we'll see in a moment. Rabbi Yossi Aimer, Rabbi Yossi says, Adam Nidan B'chol Yom, a person gets judged every single day. Shenemar, the pasuk says in Iyov, Vatifkidenu libkarim. You remember him every morning. Tifkidenu from the word Poiket Pkida. You remember him libkarim each morning, every morning. In other words, every morning the person is reckoned. Reb Nosson Adam Nidan B'chol Shah. Person gets judged every moment. Every moment. Shenemar, the pasuk says there in Iyov, L'rigoyim tivchanenu. You're boichen him, you examine him by seconds. It's the same pasuk. The pasuk says in Iyov, Perek Zayin, Vatifkidenu livkarim, L'rigoyim tivchanenu. You remember him mornings, you examine him by seconds. Now when we say kol shah, it doesn't mean every hour, every 60 minutes. It means kol shah means every moment, continuously, yeah. Every reg. This is the Braisa. This is the end of the Braisa. Now, if we analyze this Braisa, can our Mishnah be consistent with Reb Meir? No. Reb Meir says everything is judged on Rosh Hashanah. Our Mishnah says that person, grain, fruits, and water get judged 4 different seasons of the year. You might say our Mishnah follows Rabbi Yossi, Reb Nosson. But it can't, because they say that a person gets judged every day or every moment. Our Mishnah says that a person gets judged on Rosh Hashanah. What about Rabbi Yehuda? According to Rabbi Yehuda, even though he holds that a person and grain and fruits and water gets judged different seasons of the year, Rabbi Yehuda says that's only the Gzar Dinam. It's only the ultimate verdict. But the judgment itself, he also says, happens on Rosh Hashanah like Reb Meir. Our Mishnah says, Barba Prakim Ha'olam Nidain, that the judgment itself happens the 4 seasons of the year. So here the Gemara struggles, which Tana authored our Mishnah? Who is behind our Mishnah? Zog the Gemara v'chitem eladam Rabbi Yehuda. Perhaps you're going to say our Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda. V'chiktani masnisin. When the Mishnah says 4 chapters, 4 seasons, the world gets judged. Akzar din. It doesn't mean the initial judgment. It means the ultimate verdict. That is sealed on the 4 seasons of the year. But the judgment itself begins for everything on Rosh Hashanah. That would follow Rabbi Yehuda. Everything is Rosh Hashanah, including grain, fruits, and water, and of course a human being. The difference is just the Gzar Din. That would work with our Mishnah. However, it would still be a problem with a person. Why? Because our Mishnah, you said, is talking about Gzar Din. So a person, the Mishnah should have said, is Nidan B'Yom Kippur. But it says a person is Nidan B'Rosh Hashanah. In other words, you're not talking about Gzar Din. You're talking about the initial judgment. But the initial judgment then of the others is not Rosh Hashanah. It's Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. So that's inconsistent with Rabbi Yehuda. So we have a problem. In other words, we have no issue with saying that our Mishnah is talking about the final judgment for the other ones, and that would work with Rabbi Yehuda very well. But you can't split the Mishnah in half, it seems, and say that the Adam is Nidoin. And the rest, you're talking about Gzar Din. You have to be consistent. Amar Rabbi said, Hai Tana Debei Rabbi Shmali. You're right. Our Mishnah is following the view of the Tana who comes from the Beis Medrash, the yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael. The Tana Debei Rabbi Yishmael. We learned in a Braisa, taught in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael. Barba Prakim Olam Nidain. 4 times of the year the world is judged. Pesach al Atvua, Pesach on grain, Atzeres al Peiros Elon, Shavuos on the fruits of the tree, B'Chag Medan Alamayim, Sukkos on the water, V'Adam Nidei B'Rosh Hashanah, U'Gzar Din Shaloi Nechtem B'Yom HaKippur. Person is judged on Rosh Hashanah and his Gzar Din is sealed on Yom Kippur. V'Chiktani Mas Nissen Atchilas Din. According to this, when the Mishnah says that the world gets judged 4 times of the year and one of them is Rosh Hashanah, we're talking about the beginning of the judgment. The Gzar Din of the person is Taka Yom Kippur. Because according to Rabbi Shmuel, not like Rabbi Yehuda, the judgment is during these seasons. So we have another view, Rabbi Shmuel, and this is our Mishnah follows the shit of Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel.
In Adam, there's also, it says Tzadikim, Bainim, and Rishon have different Gzar Din. Tzadikim, Rishon, Gzar Din, and Gznechtam.
La'alter, or you wait Aseres Yamim.
That's the thing, it's Yom
Yeah,
Kippur, no?
yeah.
The average person.
Reb Chizda said, my time at Rabbi Yossi. What's the reason of Rabbi Yossi who says a person gets judged every day? He said himself, he had a pasuk in Iyah, Perek Zayin, Vatifkedenu Libgarim. You remember him every morning? Why are you asking what's the reason of Rabbi Yossi? So the Gemara, no, Anan Hachi Kamrin, and this is what we meant. My time Reb Nosson. Why doesn't he say like Reb Nosson? Reb Nosson quotes the end of the pasuk. You examine him every moment. Why are you choosing the beginning of the pasuk, Vatifkedenu Libgarim, and you're deleting, you're ignoring L'Regaim Tivchanenu? That's the problem. I understand he's judged every day, but why don't you go further? Every second, like Reb Nosson. And for the Gemara, because Pchine Iyune Ba'almehi. Apparently Rabbi Yossi holds that the word Pchina, you see, the pasuk has 2 expressions. When it comes to mornings, it says Vatifkedenu. When it comes to moments, to seconds, it says Tivchanenu. Tivchanenu comes from the word Pchina. We use the word Pchina like a examination, a test, like in school, a Pchina is a test. So he says Pchina Yuna Ba'almahi. The concept of Pchina, according to Rabbi Yossi, is it's not judged. It's Pchina. You're just looking. You're examining, like a boichin. You're examining. Huh? You're scanning the situation. Evaluation, inspection. Yeah, bedside inspection.
This is the real goal of a b'china.
Huh? The real goal of a b'china is not to judge, you're saying. It's just to be ma'ayin. Okay. Tell the schools.
What?
You liberals, yeah.
Montessori.
Yeah.
That's what was discussed last night. Iyun ba'almahi. It's only an iyun. What do we mean iyun? Every moment there's an iyun. There's an examination into the person. Frag Gemara, you could say the same thing. What does pekida mean? Pekida means to remember, to focus, to think about. Same thing. Iyun ba'almahi. And that you're saying, no, Adam nidoin b'chol yoim, because it says tifkadenu. No, tifkadenu is al bezach. So again, why does Rabbi Yossi focus on the day, not on the moment? Ella Amar Reb Chizda answer, time with Rabbi Yossi mahach. The real reason of Rabbi Yossi comes from another pasuk. When Shlomo HaMelech built and dedicates the first Beis HaMikdash, he speaks and he prays in Malachim Aleph Perek Ches. Lasa is, some people say it in some of the Nuschayos in the morning davening, Beis Yaakov, before Shir Shel Yom, not in Ashkenaz. Lasa is Mishpat Avdoi Mishpat Amma Yisrael Dvar Yom B'Yoymai L'man Das Kol HaMayoretz Ki Hashem Hu Elokim Einoi. To do Mishpat, justice for his servant, for Shlomo, and for his nation, Dvar Yom B'Yoymai, every single day. Every single day. So this is not any more iyun ba'alma, like we wanted to say from the pasuk. This is mishpat avdoi. That's the source. That's the source of Rabbi Yossi.
Even though it doesn't say, Rabbi Yossi doesn't say that.
L'chayre, it's strange because Rabbi Yossi himself said his reason. You can't. You're imposing a new reason. Rabbi Yossi said his reason. He says shenemar v'tifkedenu lipkara. You can ask what's his reason, and then you bring another pasuk. He could have also brought the other pasuk. Elamai, he says it's this pasuk. This pasuk he had a problem with because it also says seconds. So it's hard to understand. So the Meroy Meisada, which is the commentary of the Nitziv, of Volozhin, here on the Masechta, and also the Sfas Emes, they both suggest that from the pasuk in Melachim, you could learn Dvar Yoim B'Yoim, but you only learn it about the Jewish people. Mishpat Avdoi Mishpat Amma Yisrael Dvar Yoim B'Yoim. You don't have it for all the nations of the world. Rabbi Yossi says, Menayin Adam Nidan B'Chol Yom. Adam refers to every human being, Jew and non-Jew alike. So that's the case that you can't learn from Malachim. So therefore, from Malachim you learn out that when it says Pekida, it means a din, not just looking. But from Malachim you learn out that it's Jews. And then once you have it by the Jews, then you retroactively you go back to the Pasuk in Eiv and you say that it is every single person. But Tifkedenu Lipkarim is talking about every single human being is examined and judged every morning, every day. Reb Chizda also said,
he doesn't say like Rav Nosson because of Bechina. That's still the reason he doesn't say like Rav Nosson.
Yeah, because Benegei Yoim B'Yoimai he has Mishpat. Yeah. Sag the Gemara weiter.
So Kar means the morning also. It's different. Kar because you time of the day also.
Which morning?
Every morning.
Brazil or local?
When you get up
Here
this
in the
morning,
morning.
or 11 o'clock, whichever comes first.
Sag the Gemara, Reb Chizda said, Melech v'tzibur, if a king and a community are invited, are summoned for a judgment, HaMelech nichnas tchila l'din. The halacha is that the king goes in first. Shenemar, the pasuk says, Lasis mishpat avdai, and then mishpat Am Yisrael. So just from the order of Shlomo HaMelech's prayer, we see if there's two, if the court has to deal with a judgment coming against the king. Because you know in Judaism, nobody is above the law, which was one of the revolutions of Yiddishkeit, that nobody is above the law, even the king is obliged by the law. That is one of the most innovative ideas, that there was everybody was under the law. So therefore, if you have to summon the king for din, that's fine. But the king goes in before the Yisrael. Mishpat Avdi, Mishpat Am Yisrael. My time. Iba is saying, you're saying the time is from the pasuk, but Haguf, why did Shlomo HaMelech put it that way? One reason is Lav Erdechad L'Meisav Malka Broi. It's not respectful that the king should sit outside and wait and say, okay, your majesty, it's your turn. He comes, he goes in first. The second reason is Mekamed Leipush Charein Af. Before the Charein Af, before the anger increases because of everything that the Tzibur does, so the Melech is judged first. Rashi says, okay, Rashi just says, Kirib Nosson, my time Aleamar, Mishum de Kasavar, Pchina Ein Zedin, Ela Boidik B'maisav, Hilchich B'didei Nami, Tikshalach Pkide Yona Ba'almahu. So Rabbi Chisda says when the Melech and the Tzibur are Muzman Ladin, and he's referring, of course, to Din Shamayim, not just down here. I mean, the Melech also is summoned Ladin, and you bring in the Melech first. But he's saying even in heaven, the Melech comes in first, either Mitzad Derech Eretz, or before there's Charoin Af, because there is pain, there's ire because of the sins of the entire Tzibur.
What if the king is a Rasha? And you think that you come in first anyway? Do you think God's going to be, sort of say, angry anyway?
You're right. That is the cause for the
A lot
king.
of the kings are Rasha.
You're right. That's why he has to be judged. That's why the king has to be judged.
Yeah, right, but I'm saying in terms of God's caveat reaction to the... It's going to be worse, because the king has a greater fear, no?
Yeah, that's what's how the king himself. But we're saying what
And the nation is going to be
it
judged.
seems like the
It's
king.
going to be Charein Af. If the king is a Russian, it's going to be Charein Af from the king. It's the same king.
Of course.
Remember also the state of the tzibur. A lot of time depends on the king. King is the Rambam writes in Hilchos Malachim that Leiv HaMelech Hu Leiv Kol Kahal Yisrael. The heart of the king is the heart of the Jewish people. Rashi says Hanasi Hu Akoil. Yeah. Moshe Yisrael, Anasi Hu Akar. So perhaps the state of the tzibur is also deeply dependent on the king, and the king gets judged for that too. Amar Rabbi
Doesn't it
Yosef,
also say that the hearts of kings are in the hands of Hashem?
yeah, Leiv Malachim V'Sarm B'Yad Hashem.
The king is stuck on both sides.
Asking like that.
No, we say the heart of the king is B'Yad Hashem because nobody ultimately has control over the world. But in terms of a king's choices, he's making his choices, and he's responsible for them. Amar Rabbi Yosef said, "Kaman matzlina na'idna k'tzili v'ameri."
Yad Hashem is not his fakir. Even off Yad Hashem, until he becomes a melech, it's his own choice. Once he's a melech, his choice is on his own.
Right, because he's affecting the world.
No,
No.
I know. No, that's a result. That's not a decision. He's affecting the world as a result. They brought me Yad Hashem. I heard that they said, "What can come when?" I think he said he saw those slaves. And it's interesting. He said, "You go to a campaign, and they promise the whole world. Every candidate gets up. I'm going to give everybody a house with $20,000. You're not going to have to work. Everything is free." And then it comes, healthcare is going to be toppled and replaced with a gold standard plan. And then it comes Lamaisa, and then nobody lives up to their promise. He says, it's very poshut. Al slave Yad Hashem, before you become the melech, before you're elected, then you talk and want to do that. As soon as you become the melech, the verse is, okay, this is how we're going to run this business.
Yeah, Amar Rabbi Yosef said, "K'man matzlina na'idna k'tzili v'ameri." According to whose shitta do we daven today, every single day, for those who are ill and those who are weak? K'tziri ameri. Rashi says, "Mefarish Masechta Negdolim K'tzirei Cholim Meri Talmidei Chachamim Shen Trushi Koyach." K'tzirei means for those who are sick, and Meri means for those who are weak. Talmidei Chachamim often who are weak. So whose shitta is it that we daven every day for them? And why are we davening every day for them? Keman ki Rabbi Yossi. This follows Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi holds Adam Nidin B'chal Yom, a person gets judged every day. So therefore, every day it's appropriate to pray for all people. Certainly it could follow Reb Nosson. Reb Nosson says every moment. But even Rabbi Yossi, it works very well, because a person is Nidin B'chal Yom. According to the other Tanaim, Reb Meir, who says everything is Rosh Hashanah. Reb Yehuda, who says everything is Rosh Hashanah and the Gzar Din is at certain periods of the year, but for a person Yom Kippur. And Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel, who says also at certain seasons of the year in Rosh Hashanah, a person is only judged on Rosh Hashanah according to all of them, so there's already a Gzeira. What's the tefillah? V'yibai say, or you could say, no, lo'elam kirabanan. Really, the davening every day follows us, also the other rabbis. This is consistent with what Rabbi Yitzchak said, Rabbi Yitzchak, Yafet cycle la'adam, ben koidim gzardin, ben la'achik gzardin. A cycle la'adam, a geshrei, an outcry of a person, is wonderful, it's good, before gzardin, before the verdict, after the verdict. Rashi says, "Ki Rabbi Yossi, the Amar Adam Nidin B'chal Yom, v'yispalel shadaven sheyadunu oisei l'schus." They should judge him beneficially, v'lo yiknesu l'misa, not negatively. The Ikra Rabbanan, the Amri Ein Nidin Ela B'Rosh Hashanah, they kvar niknesu alav. According to the other rabbis, everything was already established. So what are you davening for? It's already after the verdict. What are you going to go do? But the second opinion is no. Everyone agrees that Saika is Yafal Adam before Gzar Din and after Gzar Din. Zog the Gemara weiter, Tanya.
Regular Rosh Hashanah, you're supposed to just stop. Every day you gotta yell.
Saika, yeah. Yafet Saika Lad. Tanya, we learned a Braisa. Zog the Braisa. Let's take a look at Tosfos. 3 interesting Tosfos in there. Tazayin Amud Aleph. You see on top, the Pesach Halatvua. Tosfos brings a Maisa. The Perek Misha Mesu. In Gemara Brachas, the Perek that starts Misha Mesu, there's a story there. Gabe, there's a story that there was a chassid, a very pious man. Sheknitasa ishtei be'erev Rosh Hashanah. His wife provoked him on erev Rosh Hashanah, so he didn't have where to stay. She didn't want him in the house. He went at night to sleep. He went to the cemetery to sleep. And the Gemara says over there that he went to the cemetery the night of Rosh Hashanah, and he heard that's the lashon shtei ruchos mesapr zu im zu. 2 spirits, 2 souls communicating with each other. Mashma. The Rosh Hashanah shama shtei ruchos shemesaprin zu azu sheshamu me'achorei hapargat. What happened? It sounds like on Rosh Hashanah he hears these 2 spirits talking, and the Gemara says, what did he hear? They said that they heard me'achorei hapargat. Me'achorei hapargat means from behind the curtain, meaning they heard from Judgement. From behind behind the curtain. That kol hazoreya b'revi'ah rishayna, whoever is going to plant in the first revi'ah means the first season of rain, in other words, the beginning of winter. Anybody's going to plant in their fields, cheshvan, borad malka isai. It's all going to be destroyed by a borad, by a major hail, by a major storm. No, they heard this. So Tosfos says, what do you see? This was Rosh Hashanah. His wife threw him out of the house at Rosh Hashanah. It's the night of Rosh Hashanah. You're telling me that the Tfu is being judged on Pesach. Here you have a clear Gemara that it was the night of Rosh Hashanah. That's Tosfos' problem. So Tosfos, Shema b'shamayim b'Rosh Hashanah hi maskidim din anigzeh b'Pesach. It could be Rosh Hashanah. They were discussing. They weren't making the verdict. They were discussing the verdict that was already on Pesach. So it's not a contradiction to our Mishnah. That's what Tosfos says.
The verdict that was in the previous Pesach.
The previous Pesach, 6 months earlier. 6 months earlier. Weiter, inami, or you could say no. The Gemara in Brachas is Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara in Brachas is following Rabbi Yehuda, which now we know the view of the Amar, Hakal Nidoyne b'Rosh Hashanah. Everything is judged on Rosh Hashanah, and the Gzar Din b'Pesach is Tfuah. Just the verdict is in different seasons. So the judgment of the grain was on Rosh Hashanah. The verdict, Taka the Gzar Din.
So there's a little bit contradictory.
Because it's going to be next Pesach,
Right.
you say. You want to know how the Gzar Din happens before the Din. How the Gzar Din, unless with Einstein's relativity.
Why can't it be that it was his, this person's master Gemara says that he was planted and he became rich, whatever. Maybe it was his.
This guy followed their advice, and he became wealthy from it.
Yeah.
No.
So it was his Gzar Din Rosh Hashanah that he should become rich. That's why he had to not attack the Gzar Din.
He wasn't.
No, but it's Kol HaZeirei B'Revi'ah Rishayna. It was on Kol HaZeirei B'Revi'ah Rishayna.
He went back the next year.
Right.
Huh?
He built a house in the cemetery.
No, today he would put a listening device there with the NSA to come.
Yeah.
How did his wife not get thrown out of
What?
Me, it doesn't click.
You have to be a chassid.
No, because it's like what? Every year come up with different ideas. Every different ideas. So today, this year, if
You have to be a chassid.
borrowed
Simple.
if it's
You don't
something
go
that
to
was
the
established,
cemetery when you are upset.
Shesh vibration.
Huh?
Somebody said, we don't want Tosfos in the back, no?
Still, an interesting thing. The Gemara says that whenever it says Maisa b'Chassid Echad, in Shas, it's either Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba or Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Eloi. So the Malay Harayim writes here that Rabbi Yehuda holds that Hakal Nidin Rosh Hashanah because it happened with him. The story happened with him because whenever it says Chassid Echad, it's Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Eloi, and Stam Rabbi Yehuda is Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Eloi. So it actually happened with him. So that's why he said Hakal Nidin Rosh Hashanah because he knew. That's the second answer of Tosfos, that the judgment was on Rosh Hashanah. Either Bakeri. You have to say, you're asking a good shaila. Gzardin is Pesach, so you have to say that on Rosh Hashanah, it was the din, l'cha'oira.
It is not going to be.
Retroactive.
Huh?
That is not going to be.
No, it was
It's not going to have to
Could
be
be the stuff that's
Gzardin.
going to start growing after Pesach.
okay.
It's a Reya in the winter, and it's going to start growing after Pesach. So it's going to be Nidden that coming Pesach.
So,
There's no Gzardin yet.
so in other words,
We
you're
discussed
saying
what
like this.
Gzardin is going to
Last
come.
Pesach was a Gzardin on this winter, from the Rosh Hashanah before. This Pesach is going to be the Gzardin for what's after Pesach. So the Malka Oisai, yeah, would be when?
After Pesach.
Okay,
No,
interesting.
but the lotion that they use, which calls the Reya, the Reya Rishon,
Is the Barat Malka L'chayra before Pesach?
The bar is going to be, the bar could be later, because being Zereya.
No, but it tells you.
So maybe it was for a whole year ahead. Maybe it wasn't for this winter. Maybe it's for next winter.
Hamash like that.
That year he went and he did
Right,
that.
right.
He went
So you
back
can't say
again
that.
and he got rich quick.
Right, but if it was after Pesach, it wouldn't kill Revir Rishona. It would kill everybody.
This is good for the wine business to know this.
Huh?
I wonder what's with the stocks. When's the stocks name?
That's, you have to go back there.
That's commodities,
You have to go on Tisha B'Av if you want to hear the stock.
You have to go sleep in the cemetery on Rosh Hashanah. Uman.
Okay, just to figure it out. Fine. Ida ba keri. So Tosis mikra. Keri is mikra. Milosh, in other words, don't confuse keri with seed. Keri is mikra. Milosh ula yikra. In other words, ula yikara. It's going to happen. Something happens. Inami milosh kushi. Kamayim telchu imi bekeri. Something difficult. Now Tosis asks an interesting question. Kaman matzlina neidna ktsidi v'ameri Rabbi Yossi. Why do we daven today for sick people every day, like Rabbi Yossi or Rabbi Nosson, Adam Nidim L'Chalya? That's the first answer. The second answer is, everyone holds you can always cry out to Hashem. No difference, even after Gzardin. But the first answer is, we follow Rabbi Yossi. Is a very interesting question. The Rabbana Nami, all the other rabbis who hold that we're not judged every day, we're judged only on Rosh Hashanah. Mi loy matzlin on Rifa'enu or Birchas Hashanim. They had a different text of Shemoneh Esrei. They took out Rifa'enu, asking for health. They took out Birchas Hashanim, asking for success, because they hold, according to the first answer, the person is judged on Rosh Hashanah. This is pointless. It was all decided. What are you saying?
She doesn't mean just those.
Yeah, just an example. In other words, l'chayra, all the tefillos are should be deleted according to that. So the second answer in the Gemara works. They say tzaik is always good, but the first answer you're saying, it follows Rabbi Yossi. If it follows Rabbi Yossi, so you're going to tell me that basically they didn't daven all these brachas in Shemoneh Esrei? That would be very interesting, but that's a very strange thing. Zog the Gemara, zog Tosfos va'oit. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Hachad Adam Nidim b'Rosh Hashanah Gzardin Shlei Nechtem b'Yom HaKippurim. Rabbi Yehuda says that you're judged on Rosh Hashanah and the Gzardin is sealed in Yom Kippur. Ha'amar b'Perek Kama de Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda says in the first Perek of Shabbos, Hanichnas levaker hachoila. Somebody goes in to visit a sick person on Shabbos. Omer, he says, Hamakim yirachem alecha va'al choyle am Yisrael. Hashem should have compassion on you and on all the sick people. L'chayda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, this is pointless. He was already judged in the beginning of the year. Zog Tosfos v'Omer Rabbeinu Tam. The pshat is the shaloi yech levada loy matzlina el Rabbi Yossi. That the person should not get sick. This you daven according to Rabbi Yossi, because a person is judged every single day. Every single day. So, for example, when we say Yikum Purkam, yeah? Yikum Purkam and Shema Yechina v'Chizda, it should be various Gufa, Nahira Malya. Nobody should get ill. He says this is Rabbi Yossi. According to the Rabbanon, he says, that the person should get healthy. This you can daven according to everybody. Why? Because the Masa Yechalu Nigzar. Masa Yisrapu Loi Nigzar. According to the Rabbanon, when they should get sick, that was Nigzar on Rosh Hashanah. when they should get healthy, that wasn't Nigzar Rosh Hashanah. So therefore, that could be dependent on tefillah. For Amar Bereish Hanoidim and Amavushal. The Gemara says in Masechta Nedarim, Ahachta Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says that what? That we daven here.
That's the Torah Zafkan Rafa'im, it's not a Torah, it's anything else. That was the Kasha of Rosh Hashanah.
He wasn't having bracha.
What did you
He
say?
wasn't having bracha, but bracha.
You're saying that's why he was talking about that.
Was listening. He didn't like it happen.
Let's finish this. V'hashta. Okay, so the Gemara says, Rabbi Yosef says, who do we daven like for the sick and the weak? So he says, Ktsiri mamish. Ktsiri is people who are sick, and Mari is Rabbanon, the rabbis who are weak from learning. It says, V'hashta shematzlinon aktsiri sheyisrapu. Now the minig is you daven on the sick that they should become healthy, because Rabbeinu Tam said when they should become healthy, on this there was no gzeira. So therefore, even in the middle of the year, alibid Rabbanon, you can daven for them. V'amiri hainu Rabbanon shelo yechlu. And Miri is on the Rabbanon that they should not get sick, and this is according to Rabbi Yossi, who says Adam nidin b'chol yom. So in other words, mispalalin aktsiri umiri. So it refers to two nekudas. There is aktsiri that they should get healthy, and there's ameri that they shouldn't get sick. Umashem mispalalin birchas hashanim. Why do we daven birchas hashanim? You said on this there was a gzeira. Hainu kedel kaman bepirkin. We're going to see later, Shem Posku, Kshamim Muwatin, Az Mavakshan Sheyiridim Amakim Bizmana. If the Psak Din on Rosh Hashanah was there should be a little rain, so you're asking that they should come down, Hashem should bring them down in the right time when it can produce growth. So it's going to be as effective as every year. So there is a purpose in davening every single day. Yesh Laimar, another explanation, Tefillah de Rabbim Shaini. Everybody holds that the Tefillah of a Rabbim is different. The Gzardinam Nikra Kedalakaman. Over there, even after a Gzardin, it can be torn and destroyed. The Gzardin. So therefore, it's not a Shaila. The question was on Tefillah Siyachid. Tefillah Siyachid, we say, is according to Rabbi Yossi. Or we say Tzaik is always good. But Tefillah Rabbim, there was never a question. So even Rabbi Yossi, even the other Tanoim would hold that when a community, a public davens, it's effective. Vayhi the Shabbos to Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara in Shabbos, Rabbi Yehuda says, you tell the sick person, that means even in the middle of the year, according to Rabbi Yehuda. You could say the same thing. The Damya Rabbim, the Avamatzli Ba'adei al Kol HaChaylim. Interesting. Even though it's just you going in for Bikr Chaylim, but you're davening for all Chayli Yisrael, so it's called Tfilas Rabbim. You're not just davening for this person. You're including the whole Rabbim, so it has the power of Tfilas Rabbim, so therefore even after Gzar Din, even those who argue with Rabbi Yossi, like Rabbi Yehuda would say it's still effective, and therefore you could go any Shabbos to any Chayla and daven for him, and it has power, even though he holds that there was a Gzar Din on Rosh Hashanah because it's Tfilas Rabbim, and that's a whole different experience. Amma Yisrael. Which means, according to this, that even if you're davening privately,
if you don't do that,
exactly, even if you're not davening with the tzibur, when you koilo, all the Jews, it has the koyach of the Rabbah.
It says clearly, Shabbos specifically says Shabbos Himelizik. You don't daven for the full on Shabbos. It means the Gemara Shabbos doesn't mean on.
Yeah, no, the Masechta Shabbos it says when you go in to be mavakeh koila, you say Hamakim Mirachem Alechem Al Kol Chayla Am Yisrael.
On Shabbos, you know why you say Shabbos?
Okay, so Tosfos at the end has here two answers. Answer number one is what? On Rosh Hashanah there's a gzeira only if he should get sick or not, but not when to get healthy. So since there's no gzeira on that, so therefore you could daven. So when Rabbi Yosef asked, who do we daven every day? According to who do we daven every day? Aktsiri v'amiri. His question was not that we daven for sick people that should get healthy. That's according to everybody. His question was that we daven for Talmidei Chachamim that they should not get sick. So he says that is only according to Rabbi Yossi, who says Adam Nidan B'chal Yom. That tefillah helps according to Shittas Rabbi Yossi in the first answer of the Gemara. And then there's a second answer, that the question of Rabbi Yossi is, why do we daven privately on Chaylim? But on Rabbim or Barabim, everyone holds that it's not a problem, because the Gzar Din could always be torn even afterwards when there is tefillah Sarabim, which is why Rifa'ena would work even if you daven privately, because you're davening for the Rabbim. Tazayin Amud Aleph, close to the bottom of the page, the line starts Tzaika. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 lines from the bottom. The line starts Tzaika L'Adam, Ben Kodim Gzar Din, Ben Lacha Gzar Din, by the word Tanya. You see Tazayin Amud Aleph, Tanya Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mishum Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara now returns to the Mishnah, to the original Mishnah, that the world is judged at 4 different seasons of the year, 4 different times of the year. We learned in the Mishnah, Pesach, the world is judged for the grain, Shavuos for the fruits, Rosh Hashanah, all of humanity, and Sukkot, all of the water is judged. There's a judgment on the water. So now the Gemara continues on this theme. Tanya, we learned a brayso that elaborates more on this concept. And not only elaborates, but as we shall see according to the Ran, this is actually the source of how the Mishnah knew what it said. The source of the statement of the Mishnah. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mishum Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Akiva that Mipnei Ma Amra Torah Haviyu Omer BePesach. Why is it that the Torah instructed and said, bring a carbon Omer on Pesach? The pasuk tells us in Parshas Omer that on the second day of Pesach, B'macharas HaShabbos, the Jewish people had to bring an Omer, meaning they had to go to the first barley, the new barley that grew, harvest some of the barley, grind it into flour, refine it, take a certain measurement of that flour, which is called an Omer. Omer is a certain measurement, basically the volume of 43.5 eggs, which is called also the 10th of an ephah, an omer. And they took that flour, they made a kaimetz, they took a fistful of the flour and they burnt it on the mizbeach, and the rest was baked, obviously, as matzah, and eaten by the kohanim. And this was called the carbon omer, brought on the second day of Pesach from the new grain, from the new barley. And of course, then begins Sfiras HaOmer, which means the counting in association with this new carbon omer. So omer is really a measurement, a volume of how much flour they offered for that carbon. Part of it on the Mizbeach, and part of it they ate. So he says, why did the Torah say bring a carbon omer on Pesach? Sagt Rabbi Akiva, Mipnei Pesach Zman Tfuo. Because Pesach is the time of grain. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the time of grain. What do you mean it's the time of grain? Rashi says Pesach Zman Tfuo. Not just that grain grows, Zman Shahatvuah Nidoines Bay. Second to the last Rashi on the page, it's the time that the tfuah is judged. It's the time that grain starts growing, but it's the time that the grain is being judged, as the Mishnah says. So Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, Haviyu lefanai omer b'Pesach, bring for me an omer, a carbon from the grain, from the new barley on Pesach, kedei shetizbarech lechem tfuah shabasados, so that the grain in the field shall be blessed. So this actually is Rabbi Akiva saying that this is the reason why the Torah says bring an omer on Pesach. It was this carbon that drew down blessings and energy and vitality on all of the grain in all the fields by taking by taking a little grain, a little barley, and offering it to the Rebbeinu Shalom. In fact, the Ran says here that this is the source of the Mishnah. As we will see, this is the source of the Mishnah. The world gets judged on 4 different seasons. How do we know it? From the fact that the Torah says on each of these Yomim Tovim to do something else. It's not out of the blue, stamp to do something else. As we will see, what you do on Shavuos, what you do Rosh Hashanah, what you do on Sukkot. The Ran says this is the source. This vart of Rabbi Akiva explains how did the Mishnah know that the world is. He asked yesterday, how do we know? Where does the Mishnah come up with this? From the fact that the Torah gives a different diet, a different recipe for each Yom Tif, means there's a different energy that's necessary to heal something in the world, to repair, to enhance something in the world. So we're done with Pesach. Rabbi Akiva continues. Mipnei ma amra Torah haviyu shtei alechem ba'atzeres. Why does the Torah say bring 2 loaves of bread on Shavuos? And here the Torah says after Sfiras Hayom, on the 50th day of Shavuos, the din was you had to bring shtei halechem, which was basically 2 loaves of bread. And it was interesting, it was the only carbon in the Beis HaMikdash or in the Mishkan that was made of chametz. Here it was bread that was mamash chametz, not usually all the meal grains, the breads were matzah, lechem aponim was matzah, carbonema was matzah, all the meal grains were matzah. But this was actually chametz, 2 loaves of bread that they brought. Why? Mipnei shatzeres man peiris ha'ilonhu. Because Shavuos is the time of the fruits of the tree. On Shavuos we're judged, the fruits are judged. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, Haviu lefonai shtei alechem ba'atzeres. Bring 2 breads on Shavuos kadei sheyis baruch hu lechem peiris ha'ilon. So that the peiris ha'ilon should be blessed. Now you're thinking, so you should have said, bring a few oranges, right? Bring a few peaches. Pesach, you brought grain. Why are you bringing... Bread comes from grain. Bread doesn't come from fruits. This bread came from wheat. Pesach, it was barley. Shavuos, it was wheat. So Rashi explains, Shtei halechem, Yiratzu al peiris ha'ilon. They create a ratzon, they create a positive energy on the fruits of the tree. Shehin matirin lahavi bikurim. Because it was the Shtei halechem that allowed all Jews to bring bikurim. The halacha was, it says in Parshas Kisaveh, the beginning, you go into your new field and you take the fresh fruits that just grew from the 7 species with which Eretz Yisrael was praised. Grapes, figs, pomegranates, etc. And you take a basket full of those ripe fruits of the Shivas HaMinim and you bring it to Yerushalayim. And you give it as a gift to the Kohen. This is the halacha of Bikurim, which means the first. Bikurim you can only bring after they offered Shtei halechem. So it's not the Shtei halechem just that creates the energy for Peiris Ha'ilon. It's the Shtei halechem, which is the beginning of the process of Bikurim, where all Jews who own fields or orchards are going to bring their fruits to the Beis HaMikdash. That's how Rashi teaches it. She'ein matirin lavi bikurim. She'ein meviim bikurim koydem la'atzeres. You don't bring bikurim even if you have fruits ready. You don't bring bikurim before Shavuos. First of all, they have to be ripe. But even if they're ripe, you have to wait till after Shavuos. K'diksiv bikurei k'tzir chitim. It's called bikurei k'tzir chitim, meaning the bikurim is after the harvest of wheat. And the wheat harvest is later than barley harvest. Barley harvest is usually Pesach time. Wheat harvest is a little later because wheat takes longer to grow, as we learned earlier. So Shavuos is k'tzir, after k'tzir chitim is bikurim. Now obviously this is still a little difficult because when you read the Lashon of the Gemara, it says bring shtei halechem in order to bless, to get blessed, in order that the fruit should get blessed. So we're teaching, it's the beginning. Shtei halechem is the first chapter because shtei halechem allows bikurim, and bikurim is fruits, bikurim is not grain. So Rashi says, interestingly, very interesting, V'ani shamati. Huh?
What's the Sarah on that? When it's
I don't know. It's not often.
Yeah.
It's not often. V'ani shamati. I heard. Who says this? Rabbi Yehuda is quoting Rabbi Akiva. It's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda in the Ephod. The Libi Yomaliyah. But this is Ani Shamati. It's not Libi. Ani Shamati. The Rabbi Yehuda l'tamei. Rabbi Yehuda is following his mahalach, his thought process, his reasoning. The Ha'azla command the Amma b'Sanhedrin, because Rabbi Yehuda follows the view in Sanhedrin, Masechta Sanhedrin, and what does that view say? That Eitz Sha'achal Adam Arishan Chita Haisa. The Eitz Hadas, the tree that Adam Arishan ate, was actually a chita, it was wheat. There's a machlokes in Gemara, what was the Eitz Hadas? One opinion is a fig, it was a fig tree. Another opinion is it was an esrog tree. Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is Eitz Hadas Chita Haisa, because a child, Eina Yedeya Likris Abba Achi Yitom Tam Dagan. A child becomes aware, there's a certain perceptiveness, a certain das that he acquires to say Abba Tati once he starts eating grain. Stops with the milk and starts with Tam Dagan, starts with the grain.
Free thing is out the window, huh?
So according to Rabbi Yehuda, Eitz Hadas Chita Haisa. So when you bring a chita, it's Eitz Hadas. So it's Peiris Ha'ilon, and he holds that the Eitz was a chita. It's brought in Svarim that's one of the ideas of eating matzah on Pesach, that the Jews just left Egypt, so they were still in the b'china of a tinnik, of a child. But once the child eats Tam Dagan, Yodeya Likris Abba, there's a certain awareness, in this case a spiritual awareness of the presence of the Father. Even though he still can't analyze what a father is, what a father means, the significance of a father, that may take 40, 50 years, or maybe till he has his own children to appreciate what a father is. But the moment he eats grain, there's a certain awareness, this is my father. And he's not exchangeable with anybody else.
So that means at that time it wasn't trees.
Yeah.
Rabbi Yehuda holds it was a eitz hadas, eitz.
The chitim was growing on trees.
Right.
Before
The
Before
article
that
the
money was
Rebbe
going on
brings,
trees.
well,
Yeah.
That money
that it was
going on
ready
trees.
to eat, it didn't have to be processed.
no, it was
Right.
still money.
Remember, part of the klala, part of the negativity that came from the eitz hadas was that you have to process everything. B'zeyas hapecha toicha lechem. You can't just eat bread. You have to sweat for the bread. But then it was good, unless they were just munching. They were having a snack. No, people would eat chita, but the Mishnah Ksuvas, they even had it as snacks. Snacks then were not black and whites and Danishes. Yeah, kloyas, huh? They would roast wheat. It was considered a delicacy. It was healthy snacks. They came to yeshiva with healthy snacks.
And the reason it has to be
Roasted
prepared.
wheat.
This was ready-made,
You weren't allowed
ready
snacks.
to eat.
You weren't allowed these things. Maybe the body.
Okay, so that's Shavuos. So Rashi gives us two interpretations of the connection with Peiros Ilan. Next, Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Rabbi Akiva. Why does Torah say naschu mayim b'chag? Why does Torah say pour water on the altar during the Yom Tov Sukkos? This was a very interesting halacha, which doesn't say in Torah. It was received by the oral tradition, halacha l'Moshe Messina, in the oral tradition, that every day of the 7 days of Sukkos, in the morning, early in the morning by sunrise, right when they were makriv, the first carbon tamid, the sheep, they would pour water, the kohen would go up and pour water on the mizbech. Every day they poured wine. But the Sukkos, together with the pouring of wine, he poured also a goblet of water that they went to draw that morning after dawnbreak. They went to the Shiluach spring and they took water in a golden flask and they brought it up, and that was the whole dancing, the whole night was Simchas Beis HaShoyeva, which after Mayim Besosan as a preparation to draw the water. And when they drew the water from the Shiluach spring, they came back up, and right by sunrise they offered the carbon and they poured water on the Mizbeach for 7 days of Sukkos. And in fact, it's Rabbi Akiva who learns it out. The Gemara in Tainus, Rabbi Akiva learns it out because it says Unisacheha by Sukkos, that there were two Nisachim, Nisach HaMayim and Nisach HaYayin. Why? The answer is because Sukkos, now we figure it out, Sukkos is the time that the water is being judged. The nature of the water, the quantity of the water, the quality of the water, how much water there is going to be, etc. Pour for me water on Sukkos, so that the rains of the year shall be blessed for you. This carbon of Nisach HaMayim affects the entire water flow of the entire year.
So these are all asmachtas, these are all, what exactly is he saying?
What Rabbi Akiva is saying. I guess he's explaining the unique connection between each of these carbonas to the Yom Tov.
There are one of the connections. It's nice. Okay, now you have Rosh Hashanah, you daven very good, that, and then you reinforce it on Pesach or Shulas or Sukkot. It's a very nebulous situation. Yeah. I mean, what's the point of it? The point, it's not a deraisa. We see clear it's not a deraisa. Whatever he's saying. Yeah.
No, I mean the carbonaim is a deraisa. The shtei alechem is a
the reason why we say it's
right.
But
B'pnei ma'amra
I
Torah.
don't think he's saying it's mamish nidin. I think he's saying, and it's got to be more than that. There's no real nidin. You don't say on Pesach. You're not. What tefillah are you saying for tefillah on Pesach?
It's interesting. The Turei Even.
You're saying tal. You're not saying gesher.
You're saying on Pesach.
On Pesach. And you're not sure what tefillah are you saying for Paris. I don't recall any special Sibikurim, but we're not being mispal like you do Rosh Hashanah. You mispal from morning to night, Yom Kippur. There's no mention.
Chetzi Lashem v'chetzi Lachem.
So one thing
Cool,
is that
three
bringing
quarters
branches
we have it
into
now.
the
Is one of them.
medrash is that you should remember that
Yeah.
Tafka
You don't want to
branches
know.
treated
Of tree, yeah.
of Elon
Yeah.
Sraf, because you want to
The sap.
because you want to daven the Mashiach should come, and then they're going to also be mitzvah
Well
parents.
done.
Srak, you mean. It's not. The Turei Even, the Shagasaria says, Rashi says here, Shapesach zman tvuahu, zman shatvu nedoinus by. The time that the grain is judged. So he says, if that's the case, the Gemara should have also said by Sukkos, it says, because Sukkos is Hachag Zman Gshamim. It's a time of rain. It should have said Hachag Zman Gshamim. Shavuos it says, Haviyu Shtei Alechem B'Atzed. It says Meshatzed is Man Peris Ilanhu. So by Sukkos it should have also said Nischo Mayim B'Chag, because it's Sukkos is Man Gshamim. In other words, according to Rashi, it's the time that you're being judged for rain. So the Turei Even teaches actually, when it says Pesach Zman Tvua, it doesn't mean that it's being judged. It means, he learns a little different. It means that it's actually the Zman of Tvua. It's the time when the grain starts growing. Sukkos is not Zman Gshamim. Sukkos is not yet the Zman Gshamim.
Rashi doesn't say it like that.
Right. No, it's his own, it says different. And that's why he says by Nisach HaMayim, he doesn't say Sukkos is Zman Gshamim, because it's not the Zman Gshamim. What the Gemara actually means is that the Nisach itself is in order that the water should be blessed of the year. And the same is by Omer Shtei Alechem. It's in order that it should be blessed. It's just by Pesach, the Bryce is Moisif, that it's even Geschmacker, that it's the actual Zman when the Tvua grows. But that's not the primary message. Finally, Rabbi Akiva says, what about Rosh Hashanah? We have Pesach, we have Shavuos, we have Sukkos. Rabbi Akiva continues, Hashem said, the Torah says, say before me on Rosh Hashanah, Malchiyas, Zichroinis, V'Shofros. As we know on Rosh Hashanah, the Chazal instituted that during the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, we say 3 sets of psukim, 3 sets of verses from Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim.
Where did the Rosh Hashanah say that?
He doesn't say. You see, it's interesting. By the other ones, it says, Mepnei Ma Amra Torah. Here, he just goes into straight. Imru Lefanei B'Rosh Hashanah. It doesn't say Mepnei Ma Amra Torah. Why does the Torah say to do this? So the answer l'chayda is because Malchis, Zechronis, and Shofris were instituted by the Rabbanon. Shtei Alechem and
Shofris not. Shofris.
No, not Shofar. Not Shofar, but the Psukim.
Right.
The verses were instituted by the Rabbanon. Yeah, l'chayda, that's the reason it doesn't say by this last one, Mipnei Ma Amra Torah, because the Torah doesn't say to say these Psukim. The Rabbanon instituted, the rabbis instituted, and on Rosh Hashanah in Musaf, we say sets of psukim, sets of 10 psukim each, from Torah, from Nevi'im, and from Ksuvim. There's psukim that bring out Malchias, Hashem's kingdom. There's psukim that bring out Zichronis, Hashem remembering every person and every individual and everything in the world. And finally, psukim that bring out Shofris. And as we know, by each one of the sets of psukim, we take a break and we blow shofar and we continue. So you say the psukim of Malchias, and then we say a tefillah, and they blow. You say the psukim of Zechroinus, we start off with Ata Zoichem Asa'elim, you go through all the psukim about Zechroinus, and then you blow, and then you go through psukim about shofris, whatever the psukim, you blow again, and then you finish when Asher Ritzei, and Moedim, and the end, Sim Shalom. So he says, Imru Lefanei B'Rosh Hashanah Malchis Zechroinus V'Shofris. Say before me, psukim about Malchus, kingship, and memory, and shofris. Why? Malchi is Kadesha Tamlichuni Aleichem. This is an unbelievable expression. That Rebbeinu Shalom says, Kadesha Tamlichuni Aleichem, I'm asking you that you should make me a king over you. Kavayachal, I need you. You make me a king over you. Zechroinus, Deshayala Zechroinechem Lefanei L'Tova. Zechroinus, in order that your memory, your remembrance should ascend before me beneficially, positively. Ubameh, and how do you accomplish this? How do you accomplish Tamlichuni Aleichem, how do you coronate me, so to speak, as a king? How do you accomplish this Tamlichuni? Bameh, Bashayfer. You do it through the shofar. Through the shofar, you coronate Hashem on the Jewish people and on the world. Meloich ala olam kuloi b'chveidecha v'yeda kolpol ke'atapalta, as we say Rosh Hashanah. So this is also this happens all through the shofar. So Rabbi Akiva finished explaining the unique mitzvahs that are connected to each Yom Tif based on what happens on that Yom Tif, as the Mishnah spoke about the 4 seasons. Zog the Gemara, Amar Rebabo said, Lama toikin b'shofar shalayel. Why is it that on Rosh Hashanah we blow with a shofar of a ram? Why? Who said that we blow with a shofar of a ram? So Tosfos says, the last Tosfos, B'Peirik Ra'uhu Bezdin. In the Peirik Ra'uhu Bezdin, which is going to be in Rosh Hashanah, later in Rosh Hashanah at the end, Tav Chavav. Tanan, we learned a Mishnah. The Mishnah is the Rabbi Yosi machshir af b'shel para. The Rabbi Yosi allows you to use a shofar that's made from the horn of a cow, a bull's horn.
Well, I mean, the other side is everything but a bull song, because Katega.
Oh, Aval Kaim alon Rabbi Yehuda. That's the shit of Rabbi Yosi. But the halacha is not like Rabbi Yosi. The halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. The toikin b'shal elim kfufim k'de paskin and hasan b'gemara.
But not Kloy. I mean, it's any shofar. It's
Ah.
have the par.
Kol ha-shofar is ksherin chutz b'shal para. That's the halacha. So Rabbi Yosi holds that you can even use a para. La halacha, you can't use a para. The Gemara says, like Rabbi Yehuda, that you should blow the shofar of elim kfufim, which means bent. A curved shofar of a ram. So that's where the Rabbi says you're tekeya ba'ayil. So it sounds like from Tosfos that it's a halacha that you have to blow not from a para, but not only not from a para, you have to blow dafka b'shal ayil. That's what Tosfos says. Other Rishonim, you can't use a para, no. But there's still others. There's still other animals.
If you don't have an eye, what would you feel?
So other Rishonim teach, the Rashba, the Meiri, the Rid, they teach that the mitzvah min amufcher. The mitzvah min Rabbi doesn't mean you have to only an ayil. You could use also another kosher animal, but not a para, not a cow. But the mitzvah min amufcher is to use a ayil. Huh? No, there's three shittas. Rabbi Yehuda holds dafka an ayil. Rabbi Yosi holds even a para. And Tanakama holds in the Mishnah, Kol ha-shofris ksherim chutz mishal para. All shofris are kosher outside of para. But, mitzvah, so Tosfos says halacha at Rabbi Yehuda. The other Rishonim say, even if you say halacha at Tanakama, still, the mitzvah and the mufcha is to use an eye.
I mean, even it's Yochel Rabbi.
So the question, and that's the minig. The minig is by Yidden that you use a ram's horn. So the Rabbi says lama toikim b'shem shalah. Either halachically or at least that's the minig by Yidden to use dafka, precisely a ram's horn. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem said, Tikul lefana b'shofar shalayil, blow before me with a ram's horn, kadei she'esker lechem akedas Yitzchak ben Avram. So I should remember the binding of Yitzchak the son of Avram, because what happens after that is, of course, vayelech Avram vayikach es ha'ayil. He uses and offers the ayil, the ram, as a substitute for Yitzchak.
You don't find that anywhere.
Why he says Ben Avram? I will consider it as though you binded yourself up. You completely committed, you completely connected yourself to me through the remembrance of the Akedah. Right. The Aruch Laner actually says, why does it say here Akedas Yitzchak ben Avram? Usually it says Akedas Yitzchak. We know who Yitzchak was. So he says, because the point is that there were two components. There was the tremendous thing that Yitzchak did, but then there was what Avram did. In many ways, to offer a son as a carbon is harder than to offer yourself. Because
it's actually the Avram that you...
Yes. The Nisayan, in fact, we call it Avram's Nisayan. Why do we call it Avram's Nisayan? Yitzchak wasn't 1 day old. According to Rashi, Yitzchak was a big boy. He was 37 years old. So he was a mature kid. He could have ran away too. Why do we call it Avram's Nisayan? In many ways, the Nisayan for a father to slaughter a child is far deeper than for a person to slaughter himself, because of the natural love of a father to a child. Kachnas binchas yichidcha asher ahavta Yitzchak. So we mentioned not only the yitzchus of Yitzchak, but also the Akedas Yitzchak ben Avram, what Avram accomplished here. Rabbi Yitzchak said weiter. So this is the shofar of Ayil, the ram's horn that we use. Rabbi Yitzchak says, Lama toikim b'Rosh Hashanah. A new question. Why do we blow on Rosh Hashanah? Here the Gemara already, till now, the Gemara tolerates all the lamas. Why? When he says, why we blow on Rosh Hashanah, what do you mean, lama toikim? Rachmana matiku. The Torah blows. Blostman. Rachmana matiku. The Torah said blow. So you blow? I mean, lama toikim b'Rosh Hashanah. Huh? Well, in Tehillim it says, you mean when it says the word, in Tehillim it says, Tiku b'chodesh shofar, b'kesel yom chageni chok l'Yisrael l'mishpat l'lekei Yaakov.
against 3.
Right. But the Gemara doesn't mean here. The word here is not the word that the word tiku says in Chumash. It doesn't say the word in Chumash. The Torah commanded to blow shofar. The Torah commanded to blow shofar. Or it could be two things. It could be the Gemara means the pasuk tiku in Tehillim, or it could just be that the Torah doesn't say in Torah you have to blow on Rosh Hashanah. Doesn't say that word. But the Chachamim learned it out from the Pesukim Yom Tzruah Yilachem, and you make a Gzeir Shava from Rosh Hashanah to Yovel. By Yovel it says also you have to blow. Over there it says clearly you have to blow shofar. So you learn out Rosh Hashanah you have to blow shofar. So it could be that's what the Gemara means. Rachman Amar Tiku. What type of question is this? You have to blow. Zog the Gemara Ella. The question is Lama Merin. Why do we do a trua? Lama Merin. Why do we do a trua? He's not asking Lama Toikin why you blow. Lama Merin. Why you do trua? Zog the Gemara Merin. The Rachman Amar Zichron Trua. Why do you do a trua? Because the Torah says on Rosh Hashanah you have to have a Zichron Trua Yilachem. That's why. It also says later, Yom Tzruah Yilachem, but Zichron Trua comes before. Zichron Trua is in Parshas Emor. Yom Tzruah Yilachem is later in Parshas Pinchas. So he says Zichron Trua. The Torah says you should have a Trua. Okay, there's a question what Trua is, if a Trua is a Shvarim or a Trua is a Trua. So we do both. We do Shvarim and we do Trua. But the Torah says you should do a Trua. Ella, Rabbi Yitzchak meant something else. Not why you blow shofar. Rachman Amartik. Ella lama toikin umerin kshen yoshvim. Why are the two sets of Tkiyas Shofar? We don't have that usually. The Torah says you should shake a lulav, so you shake a lulav once. Why is it that we blow and we do trua when they sit, meaning before Musaf, which is called Tkiyas Miyushav, and the reason is because there's no obligation to stand by those first Tkiyas that we do after the Mafter, before Musaf. It's Yoshvin, you could sit, even though the minig by Ashkenaz is today that they stand. B'nai Svard, many sit, but B'nai Ashkenaz stand. But Me'ikir Hadin, halachically, you could sit by these tkiyas. The Lama, v'taikin u'mening shein oimdin, and then they do it all again when they're standing, of course, in the middle of Shemana Esrei, middle of Musaf. What's the reason for this? On this, Rabbi Yitzchak answers, Kedei la'arviv ha-satan, in order to confuse the satan. So Rashi says, Kedei la'arviv, shalo yastin. He won't be mastin, meaning he won't prosecute. When he hears, when he perceives how the Jewish people love the mitzvahs, his arguments, his words get plugged, they get sealed. He gets blocked. He has a mental block, he can't speak. He gets completely confused. The question is, what's the chiv of mitzvah here? Rashi says when he sees the love of the mitzvah. Where do you see the love of the mitzvah?
First ones.
You mean because they're doing it twice?
Right, they're doing, in other words, the one that the Rosh Hashanah wants is the second one.
The question was why
They're doing it extra, you say.
Extra.
The fact that they, when you do something for obligation, you get it over with. When you do something with enthusiasm, you can't get enough of it.
the question
That's
was why we
bepashtus.
do it twice or why we're standing?
No, why we do it twice?
Not why we're standing.
No. Lama toikin amariyin v'toikin amariyin kshein oimdin. Why twice? The answer is, that was his question, not why you blow. That was his question. So that's what Rabbi Chananel says, that the reason is, the chivuv is that you see they do it twice. One of the other Rishonim, the Rimi Lunil says, the chivuv is that they do the mitzvah before the time. Because the main mitzvah you do together with the brachas. They made the brachas, malchus, zechron, and shofars, to go together with the mitzvah. And we already do it before the time. That's the chivuv ha-mitzvah. I saw that the Chidush Harim Harim brings.
That's the reason why we're doing twice.
Yeah. The Gemara says.
You learned halacha about because the koilas and.
No, in Shulchan Aruch Hilchos Shofar, there's a question: do you do shvarim and trua in one breath or not in one breath? That's a machlokes Rishonim. Do shvarim and trua have to be in one breath or not one breath? On one hand, it's considered what's considered one trua, so you have to do it in one breath. Other Rishonim say the derech is to take a break between sighing and sobbing, so you have to take a break. So that's why the pshara is that in one set of tkiyas you do it with a break. I mean a breath, and the other set you do it b'chadamachta with one breath.
But
Once we're doing it twice,
Do it shvurim, today I want to have
once you do, you take a breath, and once do without a breath. So we do one because we're blowing shofar twice, we have the luxury to be able to be yotzei l'chol hadays. Why not? Why not? But that's not the reason you do it twice.
How come we didn't say that in Shulchan Aruch, that why we do it twice?
Because the Shulchan Aruch is not a sefer that discusses the reasons behind every mitzvah. The Shulchan Aruch is a sefer that tells you how to do it. The Shulchan Aruch has a different function. You understand?
But there's a difference in the set of three Q's, Q between the four Shemoneh and the one.
In terms of a neshima, in terms of a breath. Yeah.
Besides that, that's
By Tkiyas Miyushav, the minig is. There's different minhagim. It's tough kuf tzaddik. We learned in the Shulchan Aruch.
Yeah, that's also the reason why we're doing Kiyah Shvun Kiyah and then Kiyah Tri Kiyah.
Oh, that's because we don't know what true is.
Right.
That's going to be later in the Gemara. We don't know what true is. We don't know if true is a sob or a sigh. It's a yavava. Is it or is it Is it a krechts? Is it krechtzing, sighing, or sobbing? Or maybe it's both. So we do all three. We do sighing, shvarim. We do sobbing, trua, but maybe it's both. So we do both, shvarim, trua.
1 to 3 became 30 and from 2 became 60.
Actually became 100, and there's people who don't like how the Baltakeya blew, so they go out of shul, they do another 100. So from 100 became 200. That's the real chaviv in mitzvahs. They don't stop. You go out to the hall of the davening, somebody's blowing, then this guy doesn't like what he did, so he blows.
Oh, that's the real Arva.
That's the chaviv mitzvahs.
And then you go
The Chiddushei Harim is Mosef a Geschmack of art. He says, I just actually looked it up in the other shul Chiddushei Harim on Rosh Hashanah. They malakat his Torah. So he says that the chvivus hamitzvahs is, it's a little bit of a more says a edel of art. He says when you do the mitzvah once, Rabbi said, why do we blow b'shofar shalayel? To remember Akedas Yitzchak. So he says, so in that tkiyah shofar, there's so to speak something of a motive, and the motive is I want Hashem should remember Akedas Yitzchak. He says the second time you do tkiyah shofar, it's just for the mitzvah itself. That's the chvivus ha-mitzvahs. Just for the mitzvah itself, there's absolutely not even...
That's the Eruv. That's why the first time, the chivur, that's what Rashi said.
So the Satan gets confused. Yeah. Now the shaila is, how does the chvivus of the mitzvah seal the words of the Satan? How does it plug his mouth? The pashtus, he doesn't have what to say. So what's pshat la'arvev? It confuses him. What's the confusion? You could just say, you have a prosecutor, he's trying to get the judge to go against you, and then suddenly the lawyer brings something up,
Character witness.
Yeah, and mistatment, whatever, you can't say. You get confused, you get upset, you get confused. So the Chiddushei Harim says, Azai, very geschmack. The Gemara says in Yuma, the end of Yuma, Daf Peivav, Rish Lakish says that when you do tshuva out of yira, out of fear, so zdoinus nasaloi kishgagas. The aveiros become like mistakes. Hashem dismisses them like mistakes. When you do tshuva out of love, with chavivus, zdoinus nasaloi kizachias. The sins become like mitzvahs. So he says, the Yetzer Hara, the Satan comes, and he brings forth all the sins of the Jewish people, and he's excited. And there's a lot of sins, Baruch Hashem, the Satan finds everything. He finds. So it's wonderful. Suddenly, there's chavivus ha-mitzvah, there's love in a mitzvah. What happens through love? All the sins become mitzvahs. Oh, does he get confused? If he continues to bring more avedis, he's bringing more mitzvahs because the sins got transformed into mitzvahs. So he has to shut up. That's the irvuv. The irvuv is that his very kitrug becomes, it slaps him in the face. It becomes metamorphosized because the is not going to. Says that's confusion. Doesn't know what to do. The more you talk, the more he's burying a grave for himself. Every time he opens his mouth, it's getting worse and worse because every he's doing this is not like kazachias. That's the chvivus ha-mitzvah. Mechavevinus ha-mitzvahs. Mistatmen dvar. That's the diakanashi. Huh?
He doesn't like it. The Chiddushei Harim was a chassid from the Baal Shem Tov.
It doesn't fit with it.
His yahrzeit was actually Chav Gimel Adar 2 days ago. Zog the Gemara weiter. Now here's an interesting Tosfos. Toikim u'meriying kshein oimdin. So Tosfos doesn't want to be a party pooper, but he says, it's all nice, you love mitzvahs, but Tema, if you're already yotzed mitzvahs ki yeshayfa ha'ka'ava mishum bal Tosef. You're over on bal Tosef. You already fulfilled the mitzvah, you're blowing again. So Tosfos v'chi Tema, you're going to tell me, kiven the kvar yotza. Maybe since you already yotzed the mitzvah, havalei shaloi bezmanai. It's like basically, let's say you blow shofar on Hanukkah. You're not over on Bal Tosef because it's not the time of shofar. The loyava, you're not over. You're not over. You're over on Bal Tosef. There's a machlokes if you have to have kavanah to be moisef to be over, or no kavanah, even if you do it unintentionally. But everyone is moed. It has to be the time of the mitzvah. You blow shofar and put him. Blow shofar and put him. It's not the time of the mitzvah. You're not adding to the mitzvah. You take a hadas, you start shaking it on sukkahs, on Purim, on Chanukah. Okay. You're not adding to the mitzvah. So Tosfos says maybe shaloi bismanoi. You're not over on Bal Tosef, and he's not having a kavanah to be over on Bal Tosef.
But this is Yontif.
The hamrinam b'seif ru'u bezdin. We say at the end of Rosh Hashanah, then Daf Chav Ches l'gabe birchas koyanim. The ein moisef bracha achas mishaloi mishum the loy avar alei zimnei. Let's say a kohen decides, we have the nusach of birchas koyanim from Parshas Nasi, Yevarecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, Yair, Yisa Shampan v'lechav yasam l'chashalav. And then the kohen says, you know what, I'm having an emotion, I want to give a new bracha, everybody should have shidduchim. So he starts giving new brachas. Right, very nice. He's over in Bal Tosef. You want to give brachas to Yidden, it's a wonderful thing. You made a bracha, now is the time of birchas koyanim. This is the nusach of birchas koyanim. So the Gemara says there that birchas koyanim, he's not allowed to add another bracha. You could say the time already passed. Birchas koyanim finished. He did it. He says no, the time didn't pass. Kiven the ilu misrami le tzibur acherin adam avarachlu. If another tzibur would come, a new minion would come in, the kohen could do birchas koyanim again. The time didn't pass. Hachinami here too. Imisrami le tzibur hader takalu. This is not Chanukah. If there's a new oil that comes into shul by Musaf, they didn't hear tkiyas, you blow for them. In other words, it's still the zman of tkiyas shofar. So it's tekeya b'toich zmanai. Frek Tosfos l'chayr, if it's b'toich zmanai, you're over on Baal Tosef. That's the question. So Tosfos,
If Shalom Zman is not called Baal Tosef, what is the argument about Shmini Atzeres to eat in the sick? If it's not sickness, maybe it's 5 p.m., okay. If it's not the Zman, so eat. What's the problem?
because the kavanah is to be mekayim mitzvah sukkah.
So what you say, if somebody's going to have to warn it to shakla a liter from Peter, we can shakla all day long. Doesn't matter.
No, but he thinks that
He doesn't think that he's doing the mitzvah of the Tikkun B'Chol Shofar
L'chayra.
on Purim.
Here, so Tosfos v'yashloimar the ein shayach Bal Tosef basiyas mitzvah achas beis palmer. Bal Tosef is not connected to doing a mitzvah twice. Kigoyin, koyin im mevarich v'chayzer mevarich oiset tzibur atzmai. You bless birchas koyinim and you do it again. No Bal Tosef. Oy, noita lulav, you take a lulav and again chayzer v'noita lulav. You know I'm doing it again. V'chein tekeya v'chayzer v'tekeya. It's not a problem. Bal Tosef doesn't mean you do the mitzvah twice, Tosfos says. Bal Tosef means you add something in the mitzvah. You put in a 5th parsha in tefillin. You want to add to your tefillin. You're moisef a 5th min in the lulav. I want also a lemon. I don't only want an estrog. I want a cherry. But to do a mitzvah twice, Tosfos says, is not Bal Tosef. You could do Birchas Kohanim twice, he says. If it's the same nusach. If you add I add a new brach. Tosfos says, v'gabe matnas b'choy. By matnas b'choy, when you makriv a carbon b'choy, so you give the blood, you put the blood on the mizbeach on one of the corners once. Nami noisim b'keren echad beis palm ein b'zeh Bal Tosef. You want to put on the same corner. You want to do the mitzvah twice. There's no problem of Bal Tosef. Bal Tosef. There's no problem.
But if you want to do another corner, then it's Bal Tosef.
If you add 5 minim to a lulav, if you add a parsha and tefillin, you add another text to Birchas Kohanim, that's Bal Tosef. 4 brachas Birchas Kohanim instead of 3, that's Bal Tosef. That's what Tosfos says.
If you alter the mitzvah, then it's not allowed. But if you're doing the same mitzvah again, then that's okay.
Right. Right.
Like we said,
Over there it's with such day reshuyas. Right.
No.
But Akiva Eger does bring, he says he doesn't understand the question of Tosfos. How could he compare it to Birchas Kohanim? Birchas Kohanim, If another tzibur comes, you're going to bless them. You're going to do the mitzvah again. He says shofar. If a new minion comes, you're going to blow shofar. They're going to do the mitzvah. You're not doing the mitzvah again. So he doesn't understand the dimit of Birchas Kohanim. He says l'chayr it's pozmana. Birchas Kohanim, you're going to do the mitzvah again. The Kohen is going to bless you. So that's a Bal Tosef. In the Havam, in the question of Tosfos, he says, shofar, you're not doing the mitzvah again. Once you blew shofar, you blew shofar. So he doesn't understand that the first answer of Tosfos, that's achaz mana, is a good answer. He says, doesn't know why Tosfos has to come up to this ma'isa that the Bal Tosef is not twice. Some other Rishonim, the Ritva brings, the Bal Tosef is not shaykh here for another reason. Because it's Takanas Chachamim. The Chachamim said to do it. Are we going to say you're not allowed to light Hanukkah candles? The Torah says you're not allowed to add to the mitzvahs. So why do we light Hanukkah? Why do we say Hallel? The answer is they didn't add to the mitzvahs. They added a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. They don't call it a mitzvah min HaTorah. Huh? No, right. Mitzad mechavavin. They wanted to make another mitzvah. So it's so to speak a shofar d'Rabbanan. It's not Bal Tosef. Weiter. Sagt die Gemara weiter. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak said.
You have to have kavanah not to be over Bal Tosef Shalei B'Zman. That answers the question from Shmini Atzeres. Is that you have kavanah, you want to be mekayim.
On Shmini Atzeres, you want to be mekayim mitzvah sukkah. You're having kavanah. That's why you're sitting in the sukkah.
It means that even as the shleper man,
If you have kavanah,
if you have kavanah to do it, then
For the mitzvah.
so yeah. If you want
To do Bal Tosef, if you have kavanah Bal Tosef.
with the kavanah to if you're to the mitzvah lila with kavanah, then you're over that you're adding a mitzvah. That's
Somebody
not
shakes a lila.
There's a beautiful voice. Huh?
Somebody shakes a lila on PM.
with kavanah to be yoy to the mitzvah for the
No, he's crazy.
Yeah.
Usually a guy who knows the halachas of Bal Tosef, and yet you need kavanah to do it shlei b'zman, you don't find him shaking a lulav on Purim. And if he's a meshuganas, he's b'chlal potter from all the mitzvahs, including Bal Tosef. That's b'derech. But in theory, yeah. There was once a famous apikoros, so he said he wanted to take revenge from Hashem. So how do you take revenge from Hashem? He put on tefillin on Yom Kippur. Okay, he took revenge. Fine. It's called a Yiddish nekama. This is a Jewish, spiritual version of revenge. He put on tefillin on Yom Kippur. Huh? There's a word from Rabbi Yitzchak similar to what the Chidush Harim says. It's the same mahalach in the Kedushas Levi. He says that. It says in Parshas Emer, "Ulekachtem lachem bayom harishon pri Eitz Hadar." The first day of Sukkot is called bayom harishon, the first day. So the Medrash Rabbah in Parshas Emer says, why is it called the first day? It's the 15th day of the month. So the Medrash Rabbah says it's rishon lecheshben avonos. It's the first day when sins are calculated. Why? Yom Kippur, there's atonement for everything. After Yom Kippur, the Medrash says everybody is busy. To buy a lulav, an esrik, to build a sukkah. Nobody has time for sin. What's the first opportunity for sinning? You sit in your sukkah, the night of Yom Tov. Everybody's relaxed. You come into the sukkah. Now Jews start sinning. So Rishon l'cheshben avonos. Asks the Yitzchak Kedushas Levi. He says, really? The Torah had no better name for the first day of Sukkot than Yom HaRishon, Rishon l'cheshben avonos. Maybe there's going to be a few Jews who come into the sukkah and they don't sin in the sukkah. What? For making this description that every Jew, the first day of Sukkot, they start sinning. He says it's so distasteful, huh? Rishon l'cheshben avonos. It starts the new cheshben. Yom Kippur, you have a clean slate. 4 days till Sukkot, nobody sins. The first day of Sukkot, everybody starts sinning. Rishon l'cheshben avonos.
Make a cheshbon and not find anything.
No, in other words, why are you calling it Rishon l'cheshben? You can make a Rishon Chanukah also not find anything. He's saying because usually there's going to be avonos. That's how the Mefarshim learn. He says it's a little strange, or a lot strange. So the Yitzchak Baditchev says that the pshat is punk farkat. He says Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is Yemei Hadin. It's days of judgment. The tshuva is tshuva miyira. It's tshuva out of awe. Sukkot is mansim chasenu. Is tshuva out of love. So he says Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, all the sins were obliterated. Sukkot is a whole new energy. It's an energy of simcha, of ava. So what happens? Zdoinus nasa like azachis. The sins are transformed into mitzvahs. So Sukkot is rishon l'cheshben avonos. It says bring back all the sins. Let's recalculate all the sins because now the sins have been transformed into mitzvahs. So fakert rishon l'cheshben avonos. That's like the Chiddush Harim says here, that even Rosh Hashanah, you want already even Rosh Hashanah, mitzad the chvivus ha-mitzvah, when there's the chvivus ha-mitzvah, so then the Satan becomes confused.
Or we can say like the Ramban, and the question that he had before, the Ramban says, why we do, according to those, that all the judgments are on Shuna, what Pshat, Mayim, and the Ramban said, that it goes for the next year. So when the Shuna comes, why do the Tianit Tvelos? Because when the Shuna comes, Hashem looks back how he did it the past year. He brought the water out, thick it. So maybe that means that the Shuna has no wind. So if it starts for the next year,
Rabbi Yitzchak said weiter. First, Rabbi Yitzchak explained why we blow shofar twice. Mitzad chvivus ha-mitzvah. Rabbi Yitzchak said, Kol shana shein toikin la b'tchilasa, any year that there's no tkiyah shofar in the beginning of the year, miriyin la b'seifa. You're going to blow shofar at the end of the year. Meaning, the pasuk says that uskatem, whenever there's a distressful situation, you blow with shofaris and you blow with trumpets. And you fast. During the fasting, they would blow shofars. So he says, if there was no tkiyah shofar in the beginning, there may be tkiyah shofar at the end. My time arviv satan, because since there was no tkiyah shofar on Rosh Hashanah, the satan was not confused, and since he wasn't confused, so therefore tsaris could come that year because the satan was not confused, and he prosecuted, he spewed forth his words of venom against the Jewish people. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, a year where there's not going to be tkiyas in the beginning, there's going to be tkiyas at the end. Take a look in the second Tosfos, Kedei la'arviv ha-satan. You confuse the satan. Tosfos has a different vart, why you confuse the satan. Rashi says, the chvivus ha-mitzvah. He says, Pirush ba'aruch. The aruch says that it comes from Yerushalmi. Isa b'Yerushalmi, Bila ha'mavis lanetzach. The pasuk says when Mashiach comes, he will swallow up death forever. Uksiv, it says, V'haya b'yaymahu yitaka b'shofar gadol. That day, a great shofar will be blown. Ubo ha'ovdim beretz asher, etc. Ka'atsham ha'kal shipura zim nechada. When the Satan, who's also the angel of death, hears the voice of the shofar once, boil v'loy boil. He gets confused, but not mamish. The Katshama Tanyan, when he hears the second one, he says, Vadai zeo shipura, the Yitaka b'shofar gadol. This must be already not the Rosh Hashanah dika shofar. This is already the Mashiach dika shofar. Umata zimne lemizbala. If so, it came his time to be swallowed up, because bila hamavis lanetzach. B'meila misarviv, he gets completely overwhelmed because he thinks his demise is pending. V'leisle pnai lemevet kitegoria, and he has no space, no mental space to be mekatrik. That's what Tosfos learns. Next Tosfos, she'ein toikim b'tchilasa, mefarij ba'alachas gedolos, lav de mikla b'shabbat. He doesn't mean Rosh Hashanah is on Shabbos, you don't blow, you're going to end up blowing at the end of the year from Tzaras Chas v'Shalom. Then you're not allowed to blow, you're not supposed to blow. Ela de sialid unsa. It means it was another day of the week, but there was epis and oinus, there was no kosher shofar, they couldn't be mekayim mitzvah tkiyah shofar. That's what it's talking about. So that's a chiddush of Tosfos here, that the vart is that it's not that they didn't blow mitzvah Shabbos, because then there's no chiyuv. It means mitzvah on oinus. However, other Rishonim, the Rashba says, even if it was an oinus, there's nothing to be afraid, because they couldn't blow. Rabbi Yitzchak is talking about they didn't blow mitzvah pshiyah, mitzvah negligence. Mitzvah negligence. It's hard to understand what the Tosfos mean, the Balachas Gedolos mean. It was an oinus, and that's why they're going to have to blow at the end mitzvah tzaras when it was an oinus. So the Taz explains beautifully that that's what he means, that the fact that there was an oinus and they didn't blow is basically telling them that this year they have to shape up not to have anything negative at the end of the year. Rabbi Yitzchak said, Kol shana shirasha b'tchilasa b'sasheres b'seif. Any year that is poor in the beginning will be wealthy at the end. What does this mean? Rashi says, shirasha b'tchilasa, Yisrael oisin atzman rashin b'Rosh Hashanah l'daber tachanunim utfilah kinyan shenem tachanunim yadaber rosh. Doesn't mean poor financially. It means that the Jewish people have a state of mind of a poor person on Rosh Hashanah, meaning complete surrender, complete humility. A poor person has no pompousness, no arrogance, no ego. Everything is open. The heart is completely open. Because there's nothing, you have no fanfare, no drama, no defense mechanisms. So that's the pshat, that a year when the Jewish people on Rosh Hashanah are completely open, Tachanunim yedaber rosh, the poor man speaks tachanunim, he beseeches, They will be wealthy at the end of the year. Shenemar, the pasuk says, Mereishis Hashana, but Achri Hashana. Mereishis Chas Ksiv. It says Mereishis without an aleph. Reishis without an aleph could be read as Rosh, not Reishis beginning, but Reishis from the word Rosh, which means poverty. Va'ad Achris Soifa Sheyesh La'achris. So when you have Reishis Hashana, when you have Roshim, a mindset of humility in the beginning of the year, then you'll have Acharis, a great end of the year. A person is not judged, never judged, only according to his deeds at that time. We judge a person based on now. Shenemar, the pasuk says by Yishmael, his mother Hagar was crying when she saw that he may die from thirst. So the Malach says, why are you afraid? Don't be afraid. Ki shama Elokim el koil hanar ba'asher hu sham. Hashem has listened to the voice of the lad ba'asher hu sham, where he is. What's pshat ba'asher hu sham? So Rabbi Yitzchak is learning that Hashem was saying that we're judging Yishmael ba'asher hu sham, where he is today. The Malachim was saying, look what his descendants are going to do to the Jewish people, terrible things. And he said a person is judged einay niden ela lefi oisa shah. Ba'asher hu sham, we look where the person is today, not where the person or his descendants might be in many years from now. You know what's the shaila here?
Agar.
Huh?
Agar.
Ben Seder Umayda. Yeah, Ben Seder Umayda l'chayda, right? Huh?
Amalek.
What, Amalek?
Is it killed them?
Amalek right now. Amalek wasn't the future.
So they'll have certain
Ben Seder Umayda l'chayda is a stira. Ben Seder Umayda, Rashi says, Nidain, Al Shem Ha'asid, Al Shem Seifai. He stole some wine and ate some meat, so that's why you're killing him?
He has to have some criteria that he's doing already.
Oh, so that's what you're saying. You're saying Yishmael was innocent.
Yeah.
Ben Seder Umayda, he's already going down the drain. He's already going down the tracks. It just didn't.
Didn't Sarah have kindness on Yishmael?
Huh?
Did Sarah have kindness
Oh,
on Yishmael?
he's saying Yishmael also wasn't innocent, right? She saw that he's mitzachek. Chazal say that he tried to kill Yitzchak and do other things. So that means Yishmael also wasn't innocent. So what's pshat? Okay, so you could say that the Ben Seder Umayda, Yishmael didn't have that level of they were speaking about his descendants. Right? He himself wasn't on that level. The Ben Seder Umayda l'chayda started, but l'chayda Yishmael also. I mean, Rashi says that he tried to kill Yitzchak. That's pretty bad.
Rosh Hashanah was right at that point. He was laying there. He wasn't doing anything. The reason why we have to say it's my tshuva, we do things that say it's my tshuva, is because Hashem see Rosh Hashanah. That's what Hashem passing his qualities for also. But why don't we pass part of as well as my tshuva?
Basher Husham.
Doing the thing he's done. Shmuel was sitting here, he wasn't doing anything. He was laying there, he was almost dead.
Rashi says it's very clear. You will have a shoot has here.
Yeah, let's see Rashi. Shenemar Basher Husham. Zok Rashi. Oh, Shaloisa Shah. Rashi before. Afilu wasid lashia la'achazman. You get judged that moment. Shenemar Basher Husham. Huh?
For the past you get, not from the Usid.
Past, yeah, but he's saying we don't do it for the future.
Okay, so Ben Sodom has a past.
Not for the future.
No, you're not going to kill him.
Whatever
What
he
do you
did
do?
is not so.
It's not a
Says-
capital offense.
Yeah. Shenemar Basher Husham. Umatzinu bebereishis Rabbah. It says in Medrash, Amar Malach Hashem Nekadosh Baruch Hu Ribono Shel Olam. Misha Asidin Bonav Lahamas is Banecha B'Tzama Tamaloloi Ba'er. I don't understand. His children are going to kill your children through thirst. You give him a miraculous well. Shenemar Masa Be'edev Likras Samei. Heiseyu Mayim. So Rashi says, meaning Shayomitziyin Likras Hagoyim Minei Meluchim V'Noidus Nefuchim Kedisa Asam. The Jewish people were being exiled from the Eretz Yisrael by the Babylonians after the Churban of the Beis Hamikdash, and they said to their captors, "Bring us to the children of Yishmael. They're our relatives. They're going to help us." So the Bnei Yishmael took out salty. They gave them salty foods and Noidos Nefuchim, barrels that were filled with ear. And they thought that's going to have water, so they ate all this salty food, and then they opened up these barrels which had just ear, and it went into them, and they died from thirst. Amar lahem Hashem, so you're going to save him? This is what his descendants are going to do. Amar lahem Hashem says, Hasha, tzaddik or Rasha? Right now, is he a tzaddik or a Rasha? Amrulay tzaddik, right now he's a tzaddik. Amar lahem ba'asher hu sham. Eini donis ha'olam ela b'shaitan. I judge the world only for its time, right now. So it seems from here that Yishmael was considered a tzaddik, so that would the pashtus be the difference between him and the Ben Saira Ramayra, because the Ben Saira Ramayra, even though right now he didn't do everything to deserve this, but nonetheless he already started down this path. The Marsha makes a chiluk and says that by Yishmael it wasn't him, it was his descendants. By the Ben Saira Ramayra it was him. Another explanation is that the Sfas says that the Ben Saira Ramayra is actually for his benefit. Rashi says Yomus Zakav al Yomus Chayev. It's actually for his benefit. He should die innocent and not die Chayev. I saw once there's a Shem Shmuel who says a very interesting Torah. He says that the Gemara says in Sanhedrin that a Ben Saira Ramayra, that parents have to bring him to Bezdin and endorse his death. They say he's not listening to us and this and they give him lashes and then he gets killed. So the Gemara says that Ben Saira Ramayra lo haya v'lo yiyeh. It never happened. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. One of the reasons is because the parents have to agree. They also have to have the same voice. It's very hard for it to happen. It's impossible, really. But the most important thing is they both have to agree that this son should die. Even if the father agrees, the mother doesn't agree. It's not going to happen. And it says that even the last moment, if the father or the mother are meichel him, they forgive him, it's over. The einish is over. If any one of them forgives him, it's done. Even the last second, they say, "We're meichel," done. You can't kill him. So the Shem Shmuel it doesn't understand. Why do we punish a Ben Saira Ramayra? We punish a Ben Saira Ramayra not for what he did to his parents. What did he do? He stole money. He ate meat like a glutton. He drank wine like a glutton, and he didn't listen to his father and mother. No, you don't get killed for that. It's not murder. You get this capital punishments. The pshat is, as we said, Nidin al Shem Seifa. Yard the title of Seif died. The way he's going, he's going to become a thief. He's going to become a murderer. So Yamos Zakev al Yamos Chayev. Kill him now. The Torah predicts he's going to be a murderer, and he's anyway going to die. So kill him before he kills others. Frek the Shem Shmuel. So you're not killing him for what he did to his parents. You're killing him for the fact that Hashem says that in 20 years or 10 years he's going to be a murderer. So how does it help that they're moichel him? If you're killing him because of what he did to his parents, so then it can be moichel. But since you're killing him for what he's going to do to a stranger, a murderer, it's just what he did to his parents is demonstrating the path where he's going. Now we would not be able to know that path, but the Rebbeinu Shalom says, "I'm telling you, this is how it's going. It's inevitable. I'm not killing an innocent future. We're killing a destructive future." Frag the Shem Shmuel, what does it help that they're moichel? You know what he answers? Shem Shmuel says, "Moide de kavart." Parshas Kiseitze he says this with the mitzvah Ben Saira Ramayra. He says as follows: all tshuva in the world comes from the fact that every Jew has in him or her the koyach of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And because of that power, that soul of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, there's always a capacity for tshuva. In order to be able to have that connection with Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, you need to be connected to the chain of generations, which begins with your parents. He says when parents cut off a child from their life, when they're not moichel him, it's not just they're not moichel him. They deprive him from the ability to be able to go back to his roots. Because of that, he won't do tshuva. If the parents are moichel, they keep the child close. They embrace the child. They allow he's taka ben Saira Ramayra. But they will make that, because of that, he will not become the murderer that he's inevitably going to become. It's because they're not moichel him. So they detach him from the link, and because they detach him from their link, he's going to become a murderer. That's what he says. Shemish. Ah? Yeah. Shemish Shmuel was the Sachat Shavar Rebbe. His name was Reb Shmuel Borenstein. Borenstein, he was the son of the Avnei Nezer, Reb Avram Borenstein, who was the son-in-law of the Kotzker Rebbe. So he authored a sefer called Shemish Shmuel. That's what he says. No, according to this, there's a difference between Yishmael and the Ben Saira Ramayra. Because the Ben Saira Ramayra, Avram Avinu was Michael Yishmael. It says in Pirkei Rebbe Lezer that Avram Avinu went to visit Yishmael. There's a whole medrash that he went to visit him, and he wasn't home. His wife was home, Her name was Fatima. In Islam today, Fatima is a very important name. Yishmael married a girl named Fatima, and he wasn't home, but she hosted him, and she was very, very hospitable to him, and it made Avram feel very good. He said that he sees that his son retained the traditions of his father. And Rashi says that Yishmael did Shuvah at the end. Vayikbru oisa Yitzchak v'Yishmael. Yishmael even let Yitzchak at the Levaya before him, even though he was older, because Yishmael did Shuvah. So not only was Avram Meichel him, Avram was Makarev him. So Mela, the whole Ben Seir Ramaida doesn't apply. Ben Seir Ramaida means they're not Meichel him, they're throwing him away. Of course he won't do Shuvah. For his benefit, Yom Zakrav, Yom Chayev. It's not like Yishmael. Basher Husham. So you take a look Basher Husham. But here there's a bright future and potential.
We're like in a discussion by Saita. Whether or not you should or shouldn't.
It's not a b'di'evid. The Gemara says it never happened, it's never going to happen.
Right, but still sounds like that's really halacha, is that l'chatchila they shouldn't be meichel, it should be Ben Tzar Mer, but like this.
No, nobody says that. Nobody says that parents shouldn't be meichel. That's achzarius.
Under these criteria.
Nobody says that. No, of course not. The Gemara says, so why does the Torah say these halachas if it's pointless, if it's not going to happen? The answer is, Dirosh v'kabel schar. Learn it to get rewards. So the Shimshon Rafal Hirsch writes, what's Dirosh v'kabel schar? Give me something else to learn. So he says, you have to learn this to get schar. So he says a beautiful taich. When it says Dirosh v'kabel schar, it means, learn this parsha, and you will be rewarded with a perspective on education. Learn this parsha, Dirosh. I don't need you to learn this parsha to send your kid to be killed. I need you to learn this parsha so you should learn the fundamentals of education. For example, one of the halachas of Ben Seir Ramayra is Einenu Shemeya B'Koileinu. We spoke about it a few weeks ago. So B'Koileinu, the Gemara says that the father and the mother have to have the same voice. Now, where do you have that? Unless they're twins. Even twins. And if they're twins, you can't marry them. A brother and a sister are not allowed to marry each other. So where are you going to have a father and a mother that have the same koil? It's impossible. So therefore there's no Ben Seir Ramayra. So Reb Shimshon Rafal Hirsch writes, he says, this is an example of Dirosh v'kabel schar. Often you have a marriage where there's two voices in the house. Not just physical voices. Moral voices. The father says one thing, the mother says the opposite. Sometimes the mother says the opposite because the father said the opposite. Sometimes the father said because the mother. Even if not, there's just disharmony. There's a lot of contention in the house. He says, then you can't call the child a Ben Seir Ramayra. You can't call him a rebellious child. He grew up in a home where there was no harmony. Einenu shemeya b'koileinu. Only if their voices are identical. In other words, it was a holistic home. Then you could say he's a rebellious child. If not, don't attribute it to the child. So this is one of the examples where you learn the parsha, Dirosh v'kabel schar. Another example is what we just said, that the Ben Seir Ramayra only gets punished if they don't forgive him, because they detach from him. This is the Shem Shmuel. That's why people sometimes think that sometimes they have children and there's a lot of challenges in the house, they throw the child out of the house. They say that they can't ruin the rest of the house, and they have to show the child tough love. But the truth is that 99% of cases, a terrible mistake. You have to know how to deal with other children, there's no question, it's a problem. But to throw a child out of the house is one of the worst mistakes. Because what you do is you actually cut them off and you almost guarantee that they won't come back. If you continue holding on tight to them, then there's a lot of hope, with the right perspective, with the right nurture, with the right perspective, that you will not detach them from who they are. That's what the Shem Shmuel teaches already 100 years ago. Tofresh Ayin Dalad, I think.
What was the word? Because they don't forgive him, they cut him off.
They don't forgive him. So basically, the shalshelas of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they sever him from the shalshelas.
They cut themselves
Yeah,
off.
because his connection to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov is through them. They say, you're not my child, you're a stranger.
The connection is still there. I mean,
Yes, but the emotional connection is gone. And that's why the word Vayimain has a shalshelas. Why does it have a shalshelas? Because what gave Yosef the power to refuse was the sense of the shalshelas, the chain that he had to Yaakov and back.
The question is that also today those don't
I don't think it's mamish the same. I mean, a yeshiva has to obviously, figure out, first of all, what's best for this child, and also how it's going to affect other children. They have a responsibility also to other children.
Sometimes houses is like a yeshiva.
That's true. Sometimes houses are like a yeshiva, they have too many children. But if you brought this child into the world, I don't think you're allowed to throw him out of a house. The way is, you have to make a meeting with all the other children, and you have to put them all, you have to, not on notice, you have to turn them all into shluchim for this child. You have to empower them. That this child, let's say Chalila, a child has cancer, chas v'shalom, or a child has another disease, or a child can't walk, or there's special children, yeah? All the children have to suffer. They could suffer sometimes. And it's a very challenging situation, there's no question. But what parents have to do is they have to mobilize all the children to say, we're in this together. And you who have been blessed, you're going to help us. We're going to be a team to help this person. Children are very, very smart. And children are very, very perceptive. The problem is we lie, we cover up. When you explain to children what's going on, you have a child who suffered from trauma, let's say abuse. A lot of these kids suffered abuse or molestation. And you have to explain to these children that this kid is going through a very, very, very hard time. And therefore his diet is going to be different. Yeah? His schedule is going to be, everything is going to be different about him. Sadly, he's not capable of more. He's not capable. He's a bedridden patient. Sometimes it's a physical disease and sometimes it's a emotional disease. Yeah? Trauma is very serious. So what happens then is you turn all the children into shluchim, into leaders. They all become leaders, and then they're not affected by it, or they become actually more powerful. A challenge it is, but to throw out this child from the house under even difficult circumstances is usually very counterproductive. Extremely counterproductive. I went to one of Avi Fishov's seminars for a Sunday. So there was a Satmar couple there who live in Williamsburg, and their child left Yiddishkeit, but didn't just leave. He left with a vengeance, and for many years already. Okay, so his path, as you know, some of you probably know, is very, very extreme in this way. He says once children hit a certain point where there's no return, you have to mamash go on mesiras nefesh to embrace them and do things that you would never do. Because they are so traumatized, they're so sick, that to have any expectations of them in terms of Shabbos, Yamelka, Kashrus, this behavior in the house, he says is completely unrealistic. He says they're too sick. Unfortunately, 98% of them have been molested, many of them for years. They're pashut sick. Sadly, they are emotionally traumatized and ill. They don't even have a bchir. They don't have bchir. They're pashut sick. Mamash anoinus. Okay. And in many situations, he's absolutely right. Maybe in all situations. But certainly in most situations that I know. So he told these parents to, in Williamsburg, to buy him an 80 to find out what he wants and to get it for him. He wanted an 80-inch plasma. What is it called? An 80-inch screen. Yeah, in Williamsburg. The woman is telling me, the mother is telling me the story in Hitzabrach and her Yiddish, and she's explaining to me what she did. Wow, that's fascinating. So what we did for our child. He couldn't believe it. He could not believe it. He came home one day, they wrote a letter apologizing that they never saw his pain, they never felt it. He went through a lot. He was really abused, this kid. And they got him the screen, and he was just overwhelmed. He was so moved. Gave his mother a kiss, gave his father a kiss, haven't given them a kiss in years. This happened 6 months before the seminar. She says he still goes out a whole night. Goes to party till 5 in the morning and their stomachs turn over. But every single night before he leaves, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, she bakes cookies. Every day she bakes fresh cookies. She gives him the cookies in aluminum foil or a plastic bag. She says, here, you'll have some good cookies for you and your friends. And her husband goes to the door, gives him a hug and says, listen, my cell phone is open. Any point in the night you need something, you need a lift for you or your friends, you call me. She says they have a next door neighbor. Same thing. He also leaves. They actually hang out together. And he leaves every night and the parents scream. They scream at him. His father screams at him and hollers at him. He says almost every night he turns around, he picks up one of his fingers to his father, and he uses two words that I shouldn't repeat, even not on video, certainly on video. Every night. Every single night, it's like the same thing. Lifts up his finger, says two words to his father curses him out, mother cries, runs to the kitchen. Their neighbor. And so she tells me, and she says now it's 6 months later, and he now comes to every single Shabbos meal. Every single Shabbos he comes to the meal, and he started to keep Shabbos. And recently he started to put on tefillah. So here you have one extreme, and you have another extreme. That's what the Shem Shmuel says. If parents can't forgive a child for all the pain that the child caused them, they're ultimately guaranteeing that the pain will continue forever. Paradoxically, by not letting go of the pain, we guarantee its eternity. By letting go and forgiving the child and understanding that he also went through some hard times, maybe even worse than the parents, we let the child actually be reunited with the parents. It's a very powerful observation because it's counterintuitive. You see, wait a minute, he's a lowlife what this kid did. He embarrassed the whole mishpacha. He destroyed our reputation. He destroyed the shidduchim of all of his sisters. He destroyed. What do you mean be moichel? How can I be moichel? I have 11 kids who are destroyed because of him. How can I be moichel? Fakert. You're being righteous. He's an oiche yisol. He's a pashe yisol. He eats chaza barabim. Yom Kippur, he smokes in front of the shul and a gate with shiksas. What do you mean I should be moichel? How can I be moichel? So we hold on to that. Of course, we always say it's because of God. It's not personal. Okay, that's what we all do. But what you're doing is actually you're making sure that he'll never do tshuva. He can't. Because the emotional pain distances you from him. On the other hand, if you could be moichel, what's pshat moichel? What's pshat moichel? Moichel means that you can accept, you can understand that people are on journeys, and sometimes it's difficult, it's complicated. And what if this kid was molested? It's really not his fault. Molestation plays with the brain. It destroys you. Some people sitting in this room know what I'm talking about. It destroys the brain forever. I don't know forever, but for years and decades you have to deal with it. So it's the kid's fault. People go to addiction because they have to numb the pain. So it causes pain to parents, but I have to be able to appreciate, to embrace the bigger picture. And then I get rid of the negative energy. I let go of this emotional distance that I created between me and my child. And paradoxically, my child can actually, because I tolerate him, he can actually change, he can actually grow. The word mechila, the Maharal says, comes from the word machal, which means a dance, a circle. By being moichel, you bring him back into the machal, into the dance of Knesset Yisrael. Asla Kadosh Baruch Hu lasas machal et tzaddikim. You bring him back into the circle. You throw him out. There's no mechila. He's not part of the machal anymore. You make sure he stays out of the circle. He's not part of the chain. There's a shalshelis. It goes from Avram Avinu through Mashiach. You throw him out of the chain. This maskim, Rabbi Isaac?
This is with education also, not only with the Yiddish guy.
Everything.
What about a soft landing for this kid? Instead of getting thrown out into the street, he goes into the Zaidi and the Bubby's house.
That's good, but the main thing is he should not feel that he's being thrown under a bus. Zaidi's and Bubby's house may be a wonderful alternative. It's quiet. If Bubby is nurturing and not obsessive.
Still, he has to know that his father and mother loves him.
Yeah.
Not that he accepts it.
And maybe he maybe explained that you read.
Perhaps. It may be. All alternatives should be considered. But to lock a door and say, you're not coming into my house. In most circumstances, I'm not saying in all circumstances, if the kid is, sometimes you have a child who physically could be, whatever, could be physically dangerous. I mean, there are exceptions. We're not talking about that. We're talking about he's thrown out of the house because he's not accommodating the traditions or the culture of the house. It's certainly difficult. It's not It's a big nisayan. It's a big nisayan. But that's a nisayan. Nisayan means you have to rise to the occasion. I can't be mafker my child because I'm having a nisayan. There was a suicide recently in Yerushalayim, a kid. So Avi Fisher told me there was a little background behind it. His brother had a bar mitzvah that night. And he came to the bar mitzvah dressed like a cowboy. Cowboy hat, torn jeans, exposed in some areas, a new tattoo, whatever he had. I mean, he was dressed for the occasion perfectly. So the real Yerushalayim family, Echt Yerushalayim, walks into the bar mitzvah. They look at him. His father and his brothers go over to him and say, don't embarrass us here. You get out. You go dress like a mensch. You get rid of all your mishigasin and come back. You could come to the bar mitzvah. He went home and he killed himself. They didn't, of course, mean to do that. They were horribly embarrassed, I'm not judging them, but it was like he had no place in the world anymore. It's very sad, huh?
It's probably not the first time that it's happened.
Yeah, but the bar mitzvah was like, the straw.
Culmination.
It was the culmination. It wasn't.
It came like that meant that it had inner pain.
There was a lot of. He wanted to come to the He wanted to come to. He probably loved his brother. Probably this. A 13-year-old kid you're not upset at. He probably had a special relationship with his brother, and this was.
But he had a statement that he wanted to give.
And there was another family. This was in New York in Flatbush. A similar story, and Fisher told me that he was at that bar mitzvah, and he saw this kid come in also dressed completely halbnaket. He came in completely inappropriately, and his father went over to him and gave him a big hug and said, "Thank you so much for coming to the bar mitzvah." And he says Fisher sat down with this boy because he knows him, and they were schmoozing for an hour. And after an hour, the boy looks at Fisher and says, "Do you think I'm dressed appropriately for this bar mitzvah?" He says, "I think so. I think so." He's like, "Really? I don't think so. I should go change." And he goes and changes and comes back. You understand? He's talking to him for an hour. He says, "You think I'm dressed appropriately for this bar mitzvah?" He's like, "Yeah, of course, you're perfect. You fit perfect." He didn't even want to say you're not dressed appropriately. And then the kid he said, "What happened?" They're not respond. They're responding from kavanah. There's a deep kavanah here. I'm getting dressed. He's in his own world. He's in his own zone. By having that closeness, he actually became a little more healthy. He actually looked at himself. He looked at him and he said, "You know what? Maybe I should change." Oh, no kidding. And he went. He put on a white shirt. He put on black pants. And he came back to the mitzvah. I thought that was marvelous. 2 responses. No. Which kid is going to come back to Yiddishkeit? You know the answer. That's the difference between Yishmael and the Ben Sayer Ramari. Yishmael had a good father. He had a normal father. Huh? Yishmael did come back. Yishmael did tshuva. And that's even Yishmael before Matan Torah. Yishmael was not a Jew. That's even Yishmael. Kol shekein Yiddish neshama, achelik elakam imal. After Matan Torah, of one of Acharta, is a whole different story.
I heard one that was when
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.